Hello everyone, welcome to Elephino Open number 12. I am Elephino. We got a lot of Hearthstone action coming your way. We're going to show a couple of semifinals matches to this tournament, as well as the third place match, and then the finals match. The way this tournament works is we start out with 256 players. They play through a single elimination bracket, and then we come down to the final four, which is what we're left with now. So the format for this tournament is Conquest, best of 5 with a ban. So basically what that means is each player is allowed to select 4 classes that they would like to play, and then their opponent is allowed to ban one of them, leaving each player with 3 eligible classes, and then it's a best of 5 with those classes. Since it's Conquest format, that means that you must win with all 3 of your classes. So if you play game 1 with Druid, for example, and you win, your Druid is locked out for the remainder of the match. However, if you lose, you can still use Druid in the future games because you have to win with Druid to win the match. So I hope that kind of made it clear. We're going to start here with the first semifinals match that I'll show in the bracket here real quick. So here we have it. The first semifinals match is between Arusu and Pride First. And then we're going to be following that up with the second semifinals match between N-Dashed and Renka. And then we'll do the third place match, and then we'll wrap it up with the championship match. So 4 matches of awesome Hearthstone action. These players are very skilled and highly qualified to be here. So they definitely earned their way here, and we're definitely excited to welcome them and congratulate them on making the top 4 in our tournament here. We'll go ahead and have the players at each other, and they should be good to go here pretty shortly. Pride First will be on the bottom of your screen, and they are eligible to play Druid, Warlock, and Warrior, whereas Arusu should be at the top of your screen, and he is eligible to play Druid, Priest, and Warlock. So it should be pretty exciting. Druid seems to be a pretty standard pick in most tournaments by most players. It's definitely a very strong deck that most people are picking as a target in the when Blizzard switches to the standard format. That they will look at doing the combo that they have there, Force of Nature, Savage Roar. That's a hot topic right now. But that doesn't concern us. We are ready here for the first match. We're going to have a Druid versus Druid matchup, so I was just talking about Druid. Let's go ahead and flip over Arusu's cards if I can. Oh, looks like we're going to have him invite me. So let me go ahead and do that, please. And then we can flip over the top players' cards up there. It looks like Pride First has a pretty good hand here. He has the rat or the Wild Growth to start out with. That seems to be a pretty good coin Wild Growth turn. He may even opt to keep the Innervate so he can just Innervate out that Druid of the Claw right away. That seems pretty good. So there we have it. You should be able to see Arusu's cards now, and there we go. He's got a much slower curve up there on the top. You can see Pride First did opt to keep that entire opening hand there. So it looks pretty good. I am assuming he'll go with the Coin Wild Growth play we talked about and give himself the early ramp. But definitely taking his time, kind of deciding what he wants to do. He could, well, there's not a great play to coin Innervate. Sometimes you'll see players coin Innervate out the Shredder if they have that, but doing that same technique for a Keeper of the Grove doesn't seem too great. So I'm expecting the coin Wild Growth here. Hopefully he's just contemplating and we don't have a spectator bug here right off the bat. Okay, there we go. He's just debating on what his options were. If you wanted to get this Wild Growth out. Usually a pretty good start. You want to get that ramp out earlier so you can start dropping those big bombs earlier than your opponent. most notably the Ancient of Lore that you can see Rusu has. So if he can get some early game ramp, then that would be really good for him. Otherwise, he's going to have to come back on board later on, just kind of stall out until he's able to get those big drops down. So now Pride First has the Innervate Druid of the Claw, and not much debate over that one. He set that up probably on turn 2, as we saw. He was all ready for it. So now Arusus just has the, looks like he might just Wrath for 1 here. He does have the Innervate, which can help him out if he's able to pick up something to play here in the next couple of turns. On turn 5, he can Innervate out probably the Ancient of Lore at that time and kind of draw into some more of his lower cost stuff, so he's not just stuck with those huge bombs there. Fortunately for him, though, Pride First kind of had to hit a rough spot in his curve as well, so he wasn't able to load up the board as much as he would have liked. The Elise coming out here, that was a good pickup for Arusu here on turn 4. Finally got something he could play without having to like Innervate out the Azure Drake and float a mana there on that turn. Now I'm assuming we'll see the Pilot Shredder come out here. You could even Wrath the Elise for 1 to draw a card and start off with that. That seems pretty good. And set up the trade from the Druid of the Claw. Seems like a viable option. He's debating with the Keeper of the Grove. He could use that same technique to kill it if he wants to. So he might have been debating on the Keeper of the Grove, deal 2 damage to Elise, and then use the Wrath for 3 to kill it, and keep his Druid of the Claw at 5 health. The attack to the face there kind of signifies that he will not be using that minion to trade into Elise.
I must safeguard the
So he's just going to take the Keeper of the Grove, Wrath play. Definitely a viable option. And now Arusu, finally, he's got the Innervate into Ancient of Lore play that we talked about earlier. So that seems pretty okay. The trades are a little bit awkward for Pride First, if he were to do that. Not super clean. Oh, he's going to go with the Ancient of War instead. Kind of slow this out and make the trades even more awkward, because one trade that Pride First would have had was the Druid of the Claw, and then Hero Power would have dealt with the Ancient of Lore if you wanted to. So this, having seen a Keeper of the Grove already used, Arusu probably feels pretty safe dropping this Ancient of War here without it being silenced. So the odds that Pride First has another one is a little less likely to be in hand already. So now we see that Wrath here. It's not super great unless he wants to trade off his entire board. He can start with the Wrath for 1 just to kind of see what he draws into. If he picks up a 5-drop, he could throw that bad boy down. Otherwise, he's got the Paladin Shredder, which is not a bad consolation prize if he doesn't draw into anything. Might be debating on the Force of Nature. He could use Force of Nature along with the Druid of the Claw to clear that up. Get it out of the way. That looks pretty good as well. Go after that and maintain the board presence with Keeper of the Grove. Looks pretty good. His hand is starting to fizzle out though. So here, since Rusu was able to survive the early game drought of cards on his part, or drought of cards he could play rather, now he's getting into his curve a little bit more nicely, and he could definitely start to snowball here. But Pride First picking up a huge card with that Ancient of Lore here on the top deck, so we can throw that out right now and try to pick up some cards. He's going to opt for cleaning up some of this nonsense though, so he's going to use the Wrath for 3 even. I thought he might have been going for the Wrath for 1, kind of clear those up, but he doesn't want the spell power up there, so we'd rather get rid of the Azure Drake. Seems viable. And then he's not even going to take off the 1, which he's just going to go straight to the face and keep the pressure on. Doesn't see much sense in value trading, and neither does Arusu, so the race is on from both sides here. So now Pride First will probably drop that Ancient of Lore that he's been holding on to. See what he can pick up here. Savage Roar could be good. Next turn, if Arusu goes face again, he could use that to power through the second Ancient of War pretty nicely. So a lot of turns up here. He does have the Emperor Thors in. If he wanted to throw that out, would have discounted one piece of the combo. But instead he's going to go with the double piloted Shredder and just overwhelm him on board, which seems pretty good here. He does have a lot of minions on board for the Savage Roar to hit, so he doesn't need to necessarily set up the whole combo, Force of Nature, Savage Roar, if he has enough minions on board to overtake that. So that was the bait here. He's just going to flood the board. Those piloted Shredders are really strong, really sticky, and annoying to get rid of. So even if you can deal with part 1, it's still a minion left over for the Savage Roar to hit. Swipe here, though, pretty good. Pick up some of the 1/1s. If you're Pride first, you got to be a little bit scared of how many minions are on the opposing player's board here. Swiping a Shredder, and then leaves a nice trade for your Shredder to run into the Ancient of War and finish that off. If you want to do that play, and you could also run your Keeper into the other Powder Shredder, depending on how much you feel threatened by those. So he's going to take the alternate route here, leave the Shredders alive, and just swipe the face and kind of take board over a little bit. He's not too scared of dying right here. It would be combo turn, so if Arusu had the combo, he would have lethal here. But alas, that is not the case. So now you have to decide. He is using a Savage Roar here. Interesting to see how he does these trades. Probably kill off that Thorzen, seems pretty good. You don't want that getting too many procs. And it's just a big body on board anyway. He's going to trade with the Keeper as well. Okay, so he feels very threatened by the number of minions on the board. So he just wants to clean those up nicely, refill his hand. And, rather take the heal. That makes a lot more sense. I apologize for that snafu there, but definitely healing was the right play. Heal himself back up over 14 so that he is not dead to the combo. So he's kind of got a reflex there. Generally you use that to draw, but definitely not in this case. You want to make sure you stay out of that 14 is the magic number to die to combo. Dr. Boom seems pretty good. I don't see why not. You can't really play around combo here. There's no way for you to deal with those shades. So if Pride First is able to pick up the Force of Nature, he will have lethal. He might even have lethal with the Druid of the Claw. Didn't quite do the math here, but that might be enough. I believe it would be. Is double Savage Roar enough? So that would be 6 plus 6 plus 6. So that looks good enough to me. It looks like a lot of 18 damage. So there we go. Seems lethal. So Pride First is going to go ahead and take game 1 on the back of a double Savage Roar. So congrats to him in game 1. His Druid, well, since his Conquest, as we talked about before, is now locked out, so he'll have to switch to either the Warlock or Warrior. Arusu can still bring the Druid, or he can switch to his Warlock or Priest. All are fair game. So we'll give them a moment to set up. I'll see what they want to go with here. Getting a win with your Druid out of the way is nice, because that's usually like your, for most people, it's like their comfort class. You kind of expect to get a win with Druid, so getting it out of the way kind of helps you settle your nerves and just kind of relax into the tournament and get off to a nice start there. Whereas on the other side, you don't feel too comfortable losing to a Druid, so it's not like the worst beat ever. So Arusu will definitely rebound just fine, I'm sure. I don't think he's too fluttered by that loss here. Again, he's probably confident in his Druid as well, so he'll probably get a win here coming up if he wants to take that again. So here we go, though. We'll see what they went for in game 2. So he is going to go with the Druid again, and Pride First went with the Warlock. And it looks like the Warlock, it's kind of hard to tell from the hand. My guess would be a Zoo Warlock, but with the Dr. Boom, definitely just a strong card, so that could be thrown in pretty much every deck in Hearthstone. So we'll see how he wants to play this. Rusu, though, kind of got a much better hand than he had to start off with last time with the Darnassus Aspirant into the Shade. That seems to be a pretty good starting hand. He will be on the coin, so we'll decide if he wants to use it right away to coin the Aspirant or not. Because coining the Aspirant could set up a slightly awkward turn 2. You can't go with the Shade, so you're pretty much just locked into a hero power, unless he wants to use the Innervate there. But then you'd be floating a mana. So if you want to Innervate, probably Innervate out now, Innervate the Shade, and then next turn you can set up the Aspirant. That seems much stronger. So we'll see what he goes with there. So they might be having a little bit of something going on here with the channel. I'm not sure what that is, so I apologize if there's any issues going on with the stream. We'll see what happens with that. Meanwhile, Rusu has the Elite Starseeker again. You can throw that down. And then Pride First here still has the Implosion, so that's looking pretty good. Just pick off the Aspirant to kind of slow down the ramp just a tad. Does set up Rusu for this really nice swipe here. So that was kind of unfortunate. He played into that just a little bit, but not the end of the world. He does have a couple things to reload with. If he wants to go with Lotheb here, kind of sets up the best trades on board. Looks pretty good. Good counter to Lotheb is a Lotheb. So here he's going to throw that out there as well. And we'll see how Pride First wants to answer this. The Knife Juggler, always a good option. But I'm not really a clean play here either way. He's got the Knife Juggler into Imp Gang Boss. He might want to do a trade first, just so he doesn't like waste a juggle, if he's planning on trading with the least. So he is going to go ahead and do that. And then the juggle goes face. Doesn't really matter too much. He's got the Implosion next turn to finish off the Lotheb, assuming it's going to take a value trade somewhere. This Wrath, though, undoubtedly going to be for 3 to prevent the Juggler from getting too much value. And if he wants to... Oh, he's going to trade into the Lotheb. Okay, sounds good to me. That makes a lot of sense, since he's going to take the value trade with the Lotheb. And now here, turn 7, Dr. Boom just seems like the best play to throw down on turn 7 here. It does make your trades a little bit awkward, so he's debating on the Implosion here. You want to play Dr. Boom, but at the same time, is it the best play because of how the trades are set up? Or do you want to take the guaranteed Implosion kill on the Lotheb and just save the Dr. Boom for a little bit later? So opening with the tap means he can knock Dr. Boom, so he is going to go for the Implosion. He gets the 4. So I doubt he'll make the trade here. That's just too good for your opponent. No sense in making that. We'll just toss out the Voidwalker so we can keep the Imp Gang boss alive. Seems pretty good. Opening up with an Ancient Lore, always a good option. You want to do that quickly if you know that's your opening play, so that way you have more time to decide on what you're going to do with the cards that you draw off of it. It seems obvious, but some people will end up debating on that for a little bit too long, and then they've got a whole new bag of decisions to make once that comes out. So, Arusu wasting no time. And now some more awkward boards for Pride First. The only way to kill that is to invest a lot of resources in it. Maybe you start with the Dark Peddler here, kind of see what you get. If you're able to pick up a Mortal Coil, you can trade all the 1/1 imps away and finish it off that way. But again, he doesn't want to start with that because he really wants to drop the Dr. Boom, but doing so means trading away his current entire board to kill the Druid of the Claw, so just Arusu doing a really good job of making it awkward for Pride First. He is going to take all the trades so that he can drop the Dr. Boom for going on the Dark Peddler. See if he wants to go with the Flame Imp or not. Doesn't really protect him from Force of Nature's Savage Roar, but he wanted to keep it anyway, so I think he had another play in mind there going forward. I was thinking potentially he might not have thrown that out there if it cost him to die to the combo, but that's not the case. So. He just held on to it regardless. The Harrison probably not going to get any value here in this matchup. Neither one of these classes generally use weapons unless Warlock has a Jiraxis. That's potentially a card. Now just really debating on these trades. See how threatened he is by the Dr. Boom. Or if he just wants to put the pressure on. As we noted earlier, Pride First is already down to 14, which is that magic number. So that's why he's debating on the trades here. But this play, by going face, does set up lethal on board with just the hero power. So now Pride First is going to be on cleanup duty for the most part. He's got 10 damage on board, plus Doomguard Power Overwhelming, assuming the Power Overwhelming does not get discarded. Well, you could do it first on another minion, obviously. So I take that back. We're going to start with a Dark Peddler. Oh, it should be showing us the cards here. I apologize for that. Why it's not popping up, I do not know. Seems to be a slight spectator error going on. We will get to see what he gets, though. He takes the Murloc Raider here. Not going to be a whole lot of help this turn. I believe a Power Overwhelming would have been lethal. That would have been 10 plus 8 plus the Doomguard. Yes, it would have been exact lethal. So that's what he was fishing for there. Soulfire would not have been guaranteed lethal because of the order it would have had to do. They both discard cards, so it would have been a risk to get lethal with that one. But this board looking pretty good. Arusu still does not have combo. Pride First was pretty confident in that. He would have had to top deck it. Otherwise, he was dead last turn. So just wanted to clear up the board so that he wasn't dead and make himself a little bit safer so that he pretty much only would die to combo, which he knew Arusu did not have.
What to do?
Where shall I strike?
Druid of the Claw is coming out in charge force to pick off the Dr. Boom, so that way now Arusu would have been dead on board. So we'll see what he goes with here. If he does open with a tap,
So many possibilities.
then that could be really interesting here. looks like we are having some issues with the stream maintaining on Twitch. I'm not sure what's causing that. I do not have any dropped frames on my end, so it looks pretty good. But I do see that it is refreshing on Twitch, so I do apologize for that to the viewers. Potentially it's a Twitch error that's going on. We had this problem with them last week as well, even though I'm not dropping any frames. So I'll see if I can work on that even more before the next tournament, see if I can figure out what's causing that. But for now, the Bram Bronzebeard before the Flame Imp is interesting. He doesn't want to throw that out now. Oh, now he's dead to just the hero power. Ooh, so the sequencing there. Oh, okay, because he still had the flame. Okay, wow, I got caught up in the issues that were happening with the Twitch here, so I did not see that he still had the knife juggler to attack with. So another victory will put him up 2-0 currently in this match. So Pride first, jumping out to a nice early lead with Druid and then Warlock. So he will just have to win with his Warrior, whereas Arusu still has to win with all three, and they're wasting no time. Let's get you guys back in here. There we go. So Arusu gonna give the Druid a third chance here. So it's win or bust for the Druid. If he can sneak out a win, he will stay alive in the match. Otherwise, Arusu will be eliminated. And Pride first, looked like he has the Patron Warrior going on down here. Definitely signified by the Frothing as well as the Despite.
Job's done.
So Arusu with the is able to pick up the coin Wild Growth, so that was really good for him. Otherwise, he kind of had an awkward play. We'll ramp him into 3 mana next turn, so we can drop the Shade, which is pretty much the dream start for Druid. Pride first does pick up Unstable Ghoul if he wants to put that out there now, or if he could just hero power and kind of hold off a little bit longer. Potentially use the Unstable Ghoul to propagate patrons or set up an execute or something of that nature. Wouldn't have had a whole lot of impact on this board, just doing 1 damage to Arusu's face, so he valued the armor here. I imagine he'll do the same thing again, because I doubt Arusu's going to want to reveal the Shade, so the point of putting out a taunt in front of that seems pretty irrelevant. But now Arusu with not much else to play, and unless he wants to swipe the face here, which doesn't seem pretty good. So he's just going to have to hero power and pass, so that's good for Pride first. He wants to take this game pretty slow until he can get his combo, and the Patron coming up is huge. On this turn, he's able to set up the Dustbite, attack Arusu in the face. Next turn, he has the Patron Inner Rage swing again for the Whirlwind. But setting up the Dustbite now and swinging face does telegraph pretty heavily that you have patrons in hand. However, it's still up to your opponent to stop it. And since you do have the Inner Rage, if you can make 4 patrons, that's really difficult for Druid to stop. They don't have a whole lot of great AoE aside from swipe, and that's not really good against patrons. So he will have to use a lot of spot removal. This Drake does draw a card, but it's just going to be Dustbite food for sure coming out here. So pretty easy turn for Pride first. He's got the Patron Inner Rage swing, And Arusu will be able to deal with one of them from the shade. He'll be able to hero power down one and wrath another, but that seems to be about all he can do here. So I believe even after all this is done, Pride First will still have one patron on the board. So there goes the trade. There goes the wrath and the hero power. Looks like he's wrathing off the 3-2. That seems oh, because he's going to do the swipe here. Okay, okay. I was going off the hero power. That's definitely much better. Did not see... I forgot about the swipe hidden back there. So another mistake on my part. Also showing the high quality plays that these guys have, and that's why we're casting them, because of their high skill level and their ability to navigate that 256 player tournament. Was definitely not an accident. So if you think that Hearthstone is just a bunch of RNG, then that's sometimes it does come down to that when players are both highly skilled. But it's not an accident that you see all the a lot of the same players in a lot of the tournaments making it and doing well. The execute here doesn't feel super great, seeing how that was already down to 1 health, but see, he wanted to follow it up with a Sludge Belcher and didn't want the trade to be super clean for Arusu. If he didn't execute that, he would have had to go with the Paladin Shredder Unstable Pool combo in order to protect himself from the shade. So now he still has a execute in hand, not able to really activate the Battle Rage super nicely. He could do it for 1 if he wants to still, obviously, but not a whole lot of value there. You'll probably see the Shredder come out. There it goes. And now the debate if he wants to play the Ghoul or just hero power. He's already down to 24, but he does have a taunt in the way. So he's not really scared of dying. Haven't seen a Keeper of the Grove yet from Arusu. So that's got to be something he's going to be getting concerned about eventually for that Sludge Belcher. But until that happens, he's not too concerned with dying to the combo due to his health pool and the Sludge Belcher in the way. But he is going to set up the other taunt there, just to be a little bit safer, and maybe set up the Battle Rage for next turn that we were talking about. Or if not, he could set up the Unstable Ghoul to trade into a minion on Arusu's side, proccing the Gromosh, and then use that for 10 damage to the face or to kill another minion. So that seems pretty good. And now with the Ancient of Lore making the trade here, Pride First will be able to make the trade in to the Ancient of Lore, killing that minion. It sets the Emperor down to 4, which will allow the Paladin Shredder to trade into there. So now the debate here is, does he want to use the Grom first? That would make it really difficult for Arusu to deal with it. He would still have a taunt in the way. The Darnassus Aspirant could clear that up, but Arusu would need some sort of removal to deal with the Grom, and it would have only had 1 damage taken out of it, so it'd still be at a pretty nice health total. It would put on a lot of pressure to Arusu and potentially put him into a 2-turn lethal. But he's going to start with the Shredder, so maybe a little bit questionable on the sequencing. They're playing that first before the trade. Oh, the Battle Rage, of course. I take that back completely. I talked about it earlier, and then got wrapped up in other thoughts. So definitely that's why he did it, for the extra card in the Battle Rage, even though it may have seemed awkward, which it indeed looked to me as well. There's probably some of you guys at home that may have forgotten, if you were like me. But now, for Arusu's side, he's got a lot of tools at his disposal still. You could start with the Azure Drake here and kind of see what you draw into after clearing the Shreep, of course. But he's going to go with the Lotheb instead. So got a different sequence. Lotheb into Paladin Shredder seems really strong. Fortunately for him, the minion that came out of Pride First Shredder only is 2 attacks, so it does not trade in very cleanly with with either of those minions, I should say. And now we got a he could swing into the Piloted Shredder if he wants to, and then potentially get a trade-in with his minion. He's just putting the pressure onto the face. The Whirlwind from the Deathbite next turn will activate the Grommash, so unless the Arusu is able to clear the entire board here, it could be lethal from Pride First's side. Well, leaving this one up is not quite lethal, is it? Because that would only be 16 damage from the swing of the Deathbite. The Grom would be 10, and then that would be 2 additional. So Pride First would need to pick up a Inner Rage.
Guide my land.
Time waits for no one.
And now, we still got a game here now because Pride First is going to have to either top deck the Inner Rage that we talked about. He could use that to propagate a decent amount of armor and draw some cards. Otherwise, he's got to be pretty scared of some combo pieces coming up from Arusu's side, which we can see he does have the Savage Roar. So with all those minions on board, it's going to be a lot of damage coming his way. So he could swing face first, or kill off the Swordsmith, actually probably a little bit better. The Swordsmith or the Aspirant. And then you can use the Execute to kill the Dr. Boom, Armor Smith, and Acolyte to draw some cards. Not in that particular order. He's going to hold off on the Armor Smith for now. And, okay, that's the play he went with. He's going to throw the Armor Smith off at the end here. Wasn't too concerned with that couple armor. So now Arusu's still looking for the Force of Nature to get lethal here, debating on the Savage Roar to make some trades. Prevent his opponent from getting too much armor and too many cards off the Acolyte, so Savage Roar seems the best way here to force only 1 attack into each minion. So that's what he's doing here. The sequencing there was perfect. Trading into the Armor Smith first. If you trade into the Acolyte first, your opponent obviously gets 1 extra armor. So nice sequencing there from Arusu. Putting the Shredder in the middle as well, or as close to the middle as he can. So now Pride First still got to be a little scared of dying. He does have the Slam if he wants to start with that. He could slam the Piloted Shredder, so that way it would die to the Whirlwind of the Deathbite if he has to use that this turn. Which seems pretty good. It would put him down to 19. He would not be dead. to combo, depending on what comes out of this shredder. Oh, Nate, now he would. That's not exactly what you want to see if your opponent does have combo. So you may have to use the Grom here to clean that up to prevent that lethal. Let's go ahead and see what the card count is here. So 12 cards in hand for Rusu, 9 for Pride First. So Rusu digging through the deck is getting more and more likely to have the Force of Nature, but Pride First keeping the ground. Just go ahead and with the Dr. Boom and saying, hey, if you get the Force of Nature, then you can just have it. Because I believe he's only used one Savage War, so he could have had that as well. Obviously, we know that Arusu does not have either piece of the combo, but Pride First does not know that. Can't remember if he used both Savage Roars or not. Maybe he did use both Savage Roars, and that's why Pride First did not play around it. Kind of want to think off the top of my head. This is why it's good to have a co-caster. And one of you can remember those sort of things. But nevertheless, we'll play it as it lies here. Picking up another Grim Patron, not super good. Does not have any way to propagate it. He's used both Despites, one Inner Rage, I believe, and just one Whirlwind. So there are ways to propagate it in his deck, if I'm not mistaken. But no way to trade super effectively here. He might just throw out a couple of minions and see how Arusu deals with them. Kind of baiting out the trade into the Frothing Berserker. This Ancient of War going to be really annoying to get through. He's even able to pair it with the Shade of Nax Ramus. Next turn he can back it up with another Ancient of War, and that's going to be a really big wall for Pride First to deal with, especially since he's already used both Executes. And Patron does not generally run Shield Slams. So here's his last stand almost with the second Grim Patron here. Gonna force the attack in there. We'll propagate a couple Grim Patrons, but Arusu has 2 minions on board to trade into those, so not super effective. A second Ancient of War, just gonna be really overwhelming for Pride First to deal with. And I don't really see a way out of this for Pride First. Ooh, now he picks up the Inner Rage. That's really unfortunate. If he'd held off one turn, potentially, he might have been able to get a slightly bigger combo. So instead, he's going to have to use this on the Grom. Clear up one of those Ancient of Wars. Gets a couple armor in the process. The Grom dies to the Shade, though, so that's the unfortunate part here. Or the Big Game Hunter is even cleaner, obviously. I just meant from it, as far as Pride First knew, it was going to die to the Shade. And now that his board is clear, he's got no cards in hand. Pride First is just going to have to see if he can go to Game 4. See if his warrior, his Grim Patron warrior can squeak out a win here in the next couple of games. So Arusu finally getting a win with that Druid. I bet he's pretty relieved on that. He's going to have to switch to either his Warlock or Priest deck, so we'll get to see that coming up right now. So here we go. The Priest is going to be first. We'll see how many AoE clears Arusu has. It looks like a Dragon Priest, almost undoubtedly. They generally run some Holy Novas, but he may have a Light Bomb in there, but we'll see how he's able to deal with the patrons if that happens. His goal is going to be to have board presence early and often, and just be able to clean up a lot of the minions with his own minions. So we'll see if he's able to stick to that. He got off early, but But his hand is going to fizzle out here a little bit. He's going to have to kind of stall the first couple of turns. This Fiery War Axe is going to slow down the Whelp and prevent the heal on that next turn. So not even going to be able to get very much value out of that. And now, Armor Smith on turn 2. He is going to go with that over the Hero Power. Seems pretty good. Get a little bit of pressure on the board. And it also deals with the 2-4 taunt that could potentially come out on this turn. The Wormrest Accord, I believe, is the name of that minion. So by throwing that Armor Smith out there, it sets him up to kill that to the Weapon Swing and the Armor Smith. So maybe a little bit of planning ahead there on Pride First Side. Really high level play. I doubt he's going to execute this. Not a prime target for the weapons, so he might just leave it alone, actually. Save his Whirlwinds to make patrons, and just set up that to die next turn if he wants to. But he's going to deal with it now to play around some buffs. That would be my guess. Plays around the Valence Chosen, and that sort of thing. Power Ward Shield, and a heal would have made it a little bit more annoying. Just going to go ahead and clean it up while you can and not be greedy with the Fiery War Axe. A nice top deck here, though, from Arusu, picking up the Guardian. This would be pretty good for him. The Frothing Berserker looks like he's going to attack in and execute that, which will make the Frothing a little bit bigger, so nice sequencing there. Playing it first before the trade. Sets it up to have 4 attack, which is a really difficult health total for Priest to deal with. Oh, we see Arusu is using a Light Bomb. So he has that as a board clear for one wave of patrons, so he's probably a little relieved to see that. Fun fact, it doesn't matter now since the Azure Drake died, but Light Bomb does benefit from spell power. This seems kind of awkward because the way it's worded, that it deals the attack, the minion's attack to its health, but it does actually benefit. So if you have a minion with 1 more health than attack and you play Light Bomb, it will die. But with that attack, it does set up the Frothing to die to Shadow Ward Death. Just met the minimum requirements there. So now, kind of an awkward turn. You don't want to let the Northshire live very long, but at the same time, does he really want to use the second charge of his Despite to clear it off when he's not able to propagate patrons? He does have 2 Whirlwinds in hand, though, so it wouldn't be terrible if he had to do that. Just kind of the sequencing if he wants to play the Frothing Berserker first. He can benefit from the all those minions taking damage, so it looks like he is going to go for that play. Follows up with a Battle Rage, two cards off the Battle Rage, not terrible. A little bit better than a Arcane Intellect. Costs 1 less mana. So he's going to Whirlwind here, so his minion gets a little bit bigger. The Frothing was dead to Holy Nova anyway, as well as this Blackman Corruptor, so in case Arusu didn't have any of those, then he might as well Whirlwind it there, I suppose, was the thought process, rather than saving it for patrons that he does not have. So that's how I'm going to defend that decision of his a little bit. And now this seems like a pretty good Light Bomb turn. Obviously want to make sure you get in the attack with your minion first. But you could also save the Light Bomb for patrons, inevitably. Or Holy Nova, there you go. That it looks even a little bit cleaner.
Is someone injured?
Just kind of going over the potential plays that he had at his disposal. Holy Nova looks pretty good to me as well. And now the second Northshire looks like it's going to be able to be dealt with pretty cleanly. Pride First has already seen a Shadow or Death here. So if he uses the Grom to kill the minion, then he should be he might feel okay leaving that large attack there in the Grom. Maybe even bait out the Light Bomb potentially. But instead, playing a smaller minion is going to allow Arusu to feed some cards off of the Cleric. He has a dragon in hand, so this is the Wormrest Agent I was talking about earlier. And now playing these Acolyte of Pains, he's going to be able to draw a couple cards off of this trade here. Not drawing in anything super great, so still a pretty awkward turn. He can draw one more card if he wants to trade in the Acolyte first. So if he doesn't like his options here, not a really great execute targets in here. He definitely wants to save one of those for Ysera.
What now?
So see how he wants to handle this mess. Doesn't seem super clean either way. Shredder always a strong play. He's got the armor up, or the unstable ghoul, if he wants to kind of slow down his opponent a little bit and guarantee a couple more draws off of those Acolyte of Pains if he went with the unstable ghoul there. But he's just going to armor up, valuing his health total a little bit maybe. Or rather, not valuing as much card draw. Film shows us that's a really nice trade there. He's just got a really super clean trades here for Arusu. Not too worried about the Mad Scientist. Warrior does not have secrets. You can even play this Chill Maw on the back end of that. We'll deal with a wave of patrons if Pride First is ever able to draw those patrons.
Do you have the
Oh, we see the Elite Starseeker in here, so Arusu, a huge fan of this Elite Starseeker. Had it in the Druid, and now it's in here as well, so that's his endgame plan, it appears, in several of his decks. Patron finally coming out. So that's a relief for Pride First. He's got that with the Whirlwind whenever he wants to use it. Now it doesn't seem super great, because Arusu does have the board pretty locked up. And Patron generally does not run a brawl, so this is going to be really annoying for Pride First to see if he can get back into this matchup. Gonna start with the weapon. Looks like a pretty good trade. On the Sludge Belcher, you can finish off the slime with the Mad Scientist. And then what does he follow it up with? He's got the reduced price on the Dread Corsair. If he wants to do that, he can play Dread Corsair and Unstable Ghoul. But he can't do all of that in Whirlwind, so he's going to go with Whirlwind instead. Pair that with the Unstable Ghoul. And now Arusu gonna finally get some value out of that Light Bomb if he wants to. This seems to be about the best way to deal with this board. He can trade with his minions first, so that way he can send some damage to Pride First face, and then go with the Light Bomb to clear it up. So he could send 5 damage. He could attack with the Elise and the Twilight Whelp if he sequences it that way. Looks like he's debating with the Entomb. You could Entomb one of the patrons. Or the, okay, he's going to Entomb the Acolyte of Pain, actually. Or not the Acolyte of Pain, but the Unstable Ghoul. Wow. That was off. So wants to keep his entire board. Seems pretty good. That was a very strong play. Not your general Entomb target, but you got to make the best out of what you have. So Arusu, very nicely played there, not being greedy with the Entomb. He's going to go ahead and pocket the Unstable Ghoul and be able to clean with those patrons very nicely, keeping his board mostly intact here. Execute on a Cleric also does not seem good, but as we just talked about, sometimes you just got to do things. And now we might be in for the long haul here.
Let me change.
Shrinkmeister Cabal gonna change that really quickly. Super strong play from Arusu again. Able to heal up the Elite so that it trades into the Dread Corsair. And now he just has a super dominating board. So forget what I said about the long term. Arusu is putting Pride First on a clock here. And we'll see if he can come up with some answers, but it doesn't look great. No point in putting the Despite. It doesn't kill anything that the War Axe doesn't. Not able to propagate it to make patrons or buff up your Grom. So it looks like Pride First is in some trouble here. Don't see if there's a way out of this or not. He's going to keep trying, see if he can navigate this a little bit better. But if you ask me, it looks super awkward here. We got 913 damage coming in. So he will be down to 8 this turn at least. Power Word Shielding, let's see what he can draw into. He still has that Chill Mob, but he might hold off on that if he has another dragon in hand, which he does not at the moment. We're still going to hold on to it, keep up the just throw down the Skeleton Knight, a little bit more attack. And anyway, that's going to do it for Pride First anyway. He's going to fall in Game 4, and the series is now tied. So Arusu able to even up the series again, putting it at 2-2. And we're going to go the distance in here, folks. We got a Game 5 here coming up very shortly. It's going to be between Arusu's Warlock and Pride First Warrior. So we'll see if Pride First Warrior can finally get a win. So far it's been struggling here, but it needs to get a win right now. So we talked about Boomer Bust earlier for Arusu's Druid. Well, now it is Boomer Bust for Pride First Warrior. And we shall see how this one works out here. Arusu also running the Zoo variants of the Warlock, just like Pride First was. So if he's gonna want to take the same path that he did with the Priest here against Patron. He's gonna want to flood the board early and often, and since they don't really run any AoE, if any at all, he might have some tech in there, but they usually don't run the Hellfire or Shadow Flames or Twisting Nether traditionally. So we'll see what he's got, but if not, then he's going to want to have that board presence, like I said, early and often, to clear up the patrons in the same way he was able to with the Priest. He didn't have to use that Light Bomb at all, or the Death Rattle from Shilma would have cleared up a board of patrons very nicely. Fortunately for Pride Fist, he did have patrons in his opening hand, but he threw that back, so he's going to have to draw into those earlier on, mulliganing for the War Axe. Just a really strong card to have at the beginning, whether it's Zoo or Handlock. Arusu snaps up that Voidwalker real quickly. He's going to be able to drop a couple of minions onto the board here. Hard Squire seems pretty good because the trades are really awkward. He's going to put down the Voidwalker as well. into the Fiery War Axe, just kind of force Pride First to use that charge on something, so I guess it might as well be that Void Walker. Pride First with really nice sequencing here. He can play the Dread Corsair and the Armor Smith as long as he does so before attacking with the weapon. So no mistakes there. And those Dread Corsairs just really give you a nice board at the beginning. The discount to the weapon can be so huge. Arusu able to deal with it not terribly. That's a pretty good trade for him, the Abusive there. The Knife Juggler did not go where he wanted to, had to waste the damage there, but there was no other way to sequence that. Without, if he wanted to juggle. So he took the risk on the juggle. He could have played it second, so he didn't risk giving Pride First an additional armor, but don't think that was too big of a concern. So now, Pride First has the, it's looking pretty tempting to kill off the Knife Juggler, but at the same time, you want to save that for your patrons, so let's see how he wants to play this with the Inner Rage. Looks like he is going to go with the value trade there, keeping the Juggler alive. Maybe not too concerned about it, because no matter what minion it hits, he's either going to draw a card and gain armor, or just gain armor. So not terrible here. Arusu forced to prevent the card draw there. Seems pretty good for him. So thanks to that Defender of Argus, just really able to clean up the board very nicely from Pride First side. And now he's able to pick up that Despite, deal with the Knife Juggler pretty good. He didn't have much else to play. He had the Acolyte, but that just feeds into the Knife Juggler. So he is going to use the Inner Rage here now to clean that up, feeling a little bit of the pressure. And didn't want to have to swing the Despite into the Arge Esquire next turn. So trying to shoot for a little bit higher priority minion instead of having to use it in that manner. So now he will be able to clear off the Defender of Argus if he wants to. So a little bit better attack for the Despite, a little bit more value there. However, kind of awkward on the backside of that. Acolyte of Pain, not terrible. He could throw the Acolyte of Pain down first, swing, and then you can draw 3 cards off that sequence of events. So he'll draw 1 card first using this, kind of see what he gets. He'll still set off the Battle Rage if he wants to. Father Berserker, not terrible, so he's going to play that instead. Seems pretty good. The trades are not super clean for Arusu. He's got a little bit better with that Direwolf Alpha off the top, so now the Argent, or the Abusive Sergeant, rather. Sorry, I lost my vocabulary there for a second. If he plays down the Direwolf Alpha, the Abusive Sergeant can trade in very nicely. He does not care about buffing that since the Abusive only has 1 health anyway. It doesn't matter how much attack the Frothing has. So no issue on sequencing there. Putting the Nerubian Egg right next to the Direwolf Alpha. Seems simple, but could have potentially been a mistake if you sequence that, or not sequence it wrong, but if you place it down wrong on the board. You definitely want that to get the attack on it, so you can potentially pop your own egg next turn, which looks like a pretty good play here. He had the Power Overwhelming as well, if he wants to go with that course of action. Sea Giant looks pretty good to come out here. After Pride First decides what he wants to do. Arusu down to 2 cards with that hero power. It's they're able to refill their hand pretty nicely, and he's not scared for his life total yet. He's still at 28. So Pride First hasn't been able to get in very much chip damage, if at all. I believe that only 2 damage was due to Arusu life tapping. So interesting. The Execute does come out there. So now we'll probably see the power overwhelming. Sets up a really nice trade onto the Sludge Belcher. Direwolf Alpha able to clean up the slime. Imp Gang Boss still able to get buffed by the Direwolf Alpha, so lots of value coming out there on a Rooster's side. Just able to dictate the trades very nicely and set up the board in the manner that he wants to. Pride first debating on this Grom. Just probably wants to get rid of that Direwolf Alpha before it gets too much value, but
What now?
you can attack it into any one of these minions and you can justify it. If you don't want the Imp Gang boss to be able to produce too many 1/1s. You can debate that here. So this could be a huge decision here in the tournament for Pride first, so definitely wants to make sure he sequences it correctly. The Unstable Ghoul here, definitely viable. Makes sure that the Direwolf Alpha will die to a trade. There's no benefit in trading in the Direwolf Alpha first. It doesn't allow you to kill it. So now here, just be able to set up a really strong board with the Sea Giant. And gonna be, as we talked about for a little while now, it's gonna be really difficult for Pride first to take this board back. He hasn't been able to get the draws to propagate patrons in the way that he wants to these last couple of games. That's made it really awkward for him to seize the board and maintain the board.
What now?
That streak looks like it's going to continue. He has... The only way to deal with that Sea Giant would be to run the Grom in and the Piloted Shredder, but that doesn't seem super great. However, he has to kill something, because otherwise he's dead on board, obviously. So we'll see how he wants to dictate this, if he feels safe enough leaving the Sea Giant alive. Which it appears that he does. Now we'll see what comes out of the Shredder. This could make a huge difference. If he gets a taunt, that could be pretty big. Millhouse Mana Storm, pretty nice. One of the best ones to come out of there. Actually, it's one of the strongest stat-wise. And Arusu not able to pick up a power overwhelming or any sort of damage, so he's just left with the 12 that he has on board for this turn. The Implosion. He could use that on the Frothing Berserker. Seems pretty good. Oh, hold the phone. That's not enough to kill him, but that does deal with the board a lot nicer. So see if he wants to take that play. He's going to use the value trade first on the Armor Smith. He's going to hold that. He's going to hold that back. He did have 4. I thought I was mistaken on that being 4, but he did have it, so he could have used it with the Battle Cry, but he opts not to because he wants to play this Dr. Boom here. Just a really controlling board here. I don't see a great way out of this. Pride first can clear off either the Dr. Boom or the Sea Giant. But it'll essentially cost him his Grom, which is one of his win conditions. And even so, after killing one of those, how do you win from this position? You're just kind of stalling out the game. But he's going to go for it anyway. All Arusu has to do is trade in a 1-1, and he's got this game pretty much on lock. He doesn't even have to. He could Implosion it or Gormok. I imagine he'll just trade in one of the little minions. Seems pretty good. Oh, another Sea Giant as well. That seems... that'll probably put the nail in the coffin here once that comes out here. If Pride first doesn't concede first. And he does, so... Arusu had the brand Gromhawk. Would have been a pretty nice lethal to see, but we didn't get to see it. Unfortunately, Pride First is going to fall in the semifinals match, and Arusu will advance to the championship match where he will face the winner of the semifinals match that's coming up next. Pride First, not out of it though. He will proceed down to the third place match, which will be coming up here in a little while. But for now, we're going to take a break while we set up the second semifinals match. So you don't want to miss that. Stick around and we will be back soon. Okay guys, welcome back to Elephino Open number 12. I am Elephino. We are getting ready to start the second semifinals match, which will be between N-Dashed and Renka. The winner of this will go on to the championship match where they will face Arusu, and the loser of this match will go on to the third place match. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and have these guys start, and then we'll get you guys into the action. Renka should be on the bottom of your screen. He is eligible to play Hunter, Paladin, and Warlock, whereas N-Dash should be on the top of your screen playing Druid, Mage, and Warlock. So it should be a pretty nice series here. Both of these are very high level players, really high on the ladder as well, looking at their rankings from Battletag Friends. So really high skill level. Really interested to see what they have, what kind of lineups they're bringing up to this matchup. So here we go. They are battling. So let's get us into the action so we don't miss on. You don't have to hear me blabber more. Okay, here we go. So Renka on the bottom. He's opening up with the Paladin. And N-Dash going to start with the Warlock. Oh, let me go ahead and mute the game. So Renka looks like he's going to have a really nice curve here.
I'll never tell.
He's going to go with the coin double one drops. Double Secret Keeper seems really strong. Next turn he has the Avenge if he wants to buff both of them, or he's got the option to drop the Knife Juggler. So really strong opening hand. Renka has the potential to curve out just super nicely. N-Dash though, contrary to what we saw in the previous match, looks like he's running more of the hand lock variation as opposed to the zoo we saw from both players earlier. Renka picking up another secret, able to just make those secret keepers into super secret keepers down there, and just going to be really dominating early game presence. N-Dash doesn't have a whole lot of answers. He's got the Hellfire, but that doesn't even kill both of them. So instead of using a whole Hellfire just to clear one Secret Keeper and possibly pop an Avenge, which is pretty safe to say one of them is on his side. He obviously doesn't know for sure. I'm going to go over them real quick just for you guys. The Avenge and then the Redemption coming out here, so wouldn't have even done very much. It just would have made the board actually a little bit stronger. So going to go ahead and avoid that tragedy. But N-Dash going to continue to fight for the board here with the Twilight Drake. Only a 4/6, but it has enough attack to kill both minions on board, and not with the help of the weapon. So kind of an awkward situation here from Renka. He'd have to trade both minions into that if he wants to kill it. You can see where the Knife Juggler goes first. If he uses the hero power here and the juggle hits the Drake, he's going to have a different decision on his hand. Going face just means that he's going to follow it up with the minions going face as well. If that attacks the Drake, he potentially cashes in one of those Secret Keepers, plays around AoE a little bit, and he's able to use his weapon to finish that off as well. But since it didn't, he's going to use the Demon Wrath here. Avenge is going to keep that minion in range of the Drake, and now able to deal with the board very nicely, N-Dash was. So now Renka just left with the 1/1 Secret Keeper from the Revenge coming out. So N-Dash is down to 15 health, or 13 now with that tap, but for the most part he was able to weather the storm. Ooh, this Blessing of Kings though is going to be painful. Rinka didn't have much of a play aside from muster for battle, which wouldn't have been the worst. Next turn he's got the Mysterious Challenger. He's going to go with the muster instead. Set up a really big board, maybe bait out another AoE if N-Dash has it. Which he technically does have one. Ooh, Reno Jackson, a huge pickup here. Probably doesn't want to use it on this turn. He can be a little bit greedier with it if he wants to, but if he does, he's dead to the Blessing of Kings. 5 damage on board, Blessing is 4 more, the weapon is 1 more, that would be 10 damage exactly. So if he doesn't taunt up or heal in some manner, he would be dead on board. So feeling that out, N-Dash playing around the Blessing of Kings there. True Silver would not have been lethal, but as we saw here, the Blessing of Kings would have been enough damage. So now N-Dash with the, didn't want to see the Mysterious Challenger coming out. Let's hover over those secrets for you real quick. We got a Competitive Spirit, not surprising, the Other Avenge, and finally a Noble Sacrifice. We didn't see a Noble Sacrifice earlier, so we knew that was going to be one of them. So N-Dash, always a good turn. These secrets take a long time for the animation to go off, so kind of deciding what you want to do early can be really key to navigating these secrets, especially if you're not 100% sure. But that Flame Imp going to set up the Shadow Flame and the Dark Bomb able to clear the board very nicely, going to prevent the Competitive Spirit from going off at all. So now N-Dash knows exactly what secret that is. He played around every single other one. So N-Dash able to navigate this really nicely due to the help of that Reno. That was huge in this matchup, getting that Reno Jackson, navigating it perfectly, not being greedy, preventing himself from dying on that turn. And now, it appears to be N-Dash's game to lose. He's climbed his way back into it. And now he's got some taunts. Still kind of a little bit of an awkward turn, not super clean as he would have liked. He's got to decide which ones he wants to use and taunt up. Zombie Chow not terrible here because Rinka is only at 28 health, so giving your opponent the health bonus, not too big of a deal. Rolls the 4 on the implosion, that could be huge. The little imps are phenomenal for picking off the 1/1 tokens or popping off divine shields. Second Mysterious Challenger, not terrible, not exactly what Rinka was hoping for. He'd like to see a Dr. Boom or a Tyrion right about now, would be really nice for him. But he'll take that. This secret hit is pretty much got to be the second. Oh, he's only running one. So there's a Noble Sacrifice. Oh yeah, I forgot the Competitive Spirit went off. So we'll get off that train of thought real quick. The second Noble Sacrifice, generally Secret Paladin, run 2 Noble Sacrifices to Avenge, and this deck is not much different. He's not running the Repentance, that's usually cut. Some people will tech it in one Repentance, but not Rinka. Pretty standard Secret Paladin list he's got going on here. And Dash sniffing that out very nicely, starting with rocking the Noble Sacrifice. And now we see the Zombie Chow going to come out like we talked about earlier. Not too worried about healing Rinka. So even though it's late in the game, still going to be able to get a decent amount of value in there. Now's the Tyrion we talked about earlier. And Rinka can really dictate these trades wherever he wants to. Oh, he's going to go straight to the face and set up lethal. If one of these minions survive for the Blessing of Kings, even if Tyrion dies, Rinka will have the weapon. So the weapon with the Mysterious Challenger plus the Blessing of Kings will be lethal. Unless N-Dash has something to say about it. He has the Twisting Nether, which could do it. So if he plays the Mold Giant, he is not going to Twisting Nether. So we'll see what he wants to do. He's got the Siphon Soul as a backup plan if he just wants to kill the Tyrion. But then he would be dead if that happens. Because he cannot do the Siphon Soul and the Earthen Ring Farseer. So Siphon Soul seems pretty tempting here, but it's not playing around a Blessing of Kings or a True Silver. Well, I guess not a True Silver because of the Ashbringer, so I apologize for that. Realized my mistake really quickly. But Blessing of Kings. Oh, he's going to throw out the taunt as well, so that was, I had forgotten about that. So now, because of the sequence that N-Dash has, he was able to take the board really nicely, able to clear up the minions very effectively. So he navigated it perfectly. I made it a little bit more suspenseful than it actually was. Just to kind of hype it up a little bit, but N-Dash navigated it very nicely. And now, if he swings into that, what's the benefit to that? It's obviously putting it down to 2, using up one of your charges, but that's probably going to go for a trade here. And now, as we talked about earlier, N-Dash, looks like it's his game to lose yet again. N-Dash has some pretty nice trades here. And he can continue to flood the board with the Sylvanas and the Earthen Ring Farseer. So looking pretty good for him. He can clear the board. Using the Earthen Ring Farseer on the Molten Giant doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense because it still dies to Ashbringer just the same. So he sniffs that out perfectly and uses it to heal himself instead. Rinka gonna take the full 8 instead of keepering the Molten Giant first. He wants the Molten Giant one of these instead, or a keeper one of these instead. Obviously the Sylvanas if he throws it out there, or keeper his own guy. There you go. That seems to work pretty well. He's got the Ashbringer to kill the Sylvanas. And he can trade in a minion to the Earthen Ring Farseer. But the Sylvanas will steal one of those. So depending on how N-Dash trades in here, you can get one of those minions. Unless Renka really wants to trade both of them in. So there you go. Yeah, that's definitely a better play now that I think it all the way through. If the board stays as is, then Renka would want to trade both minions into the Sylvanas. Ooh, so buffing your opponent's minions so that the Sylvanas dies, guaranteeing stealing the keeper. Really nice play there from N-Dash. He's just going to continue to maintain the board, sitting at a pretty nice health total. 14 health, he's not dead to the weapon. N-Dash doesn't have lethal, so he's still going to be on cleanup duty, otherwise he's dead to the board, so not too big of a task for him. He can easily clear these off. Not a bad drop for Renka, but still manageable. So Renka's trying to hang in there. This Dr. Boom, though, is probably going to seal the deal. Renka still feels like he has an out, which I guess he does if he's able to pick up a True Silver. Now that the Ashbringer has put in all the work that it can. N-Dash with 10-15 damage on board. 2 from hand, so he's a little bit off of lethal here. Power Overwhelming would have been enough. He doesn't draw into that. Tapping doesn't seem too great here unless he's going to clear the board. Who goes for the Boombot? That could have... a couple of Boombot high rolls to the face could have done it as well. He doesn't get very lucky on the first one. So we'll see how he wants to sequence this other one.
My seal for Argus. The victory is...
Okay, so there we go. Renka does not see a way out of it. We didn't either for a little while, but Renka was holding on to it until he saw the taunt. And then once he saw the taunt, he knew that True Silver was no longer an out. So Renka gonna take game 1, or I apologize, N-Dashed gonna take game 1 with the Warlock. So he will have to switch to his Druid or Mage. Renka still with the full arsenal. You see the classes on the left side of your screen there when they come up into the match. Here we go, game 2. So N-Dash going with the Mage. Renka gonna decide to switch to the Hunter here. So we'll see how that works for both of them. Kind of get to see what variation both of these are. N-Dash looks like he's running a Tempo Mage. Whereas Renka looks like he's got a aggressive Hunter, like the old Face Hunter that we all know and love. Both with pretty good starts. They have both had a 1-drop. N-Dash 1-drop is a little bit better, but it Renka does get some damage in on N-Dash, which is what he wants to do, but N-Dash able to flood the board very nicely with the Mech Orper, Clockwork Gnome combo. So a really good start for N-Dash to have against the aggressive Face Hunter here. Wants to fight for the board, maintain the board, and just kind of clear off any nonsense that Renka can put out there. So now Renka noticing that, he has to use the Wolf Rider to clear off a minion instead of going face with that. N-Dash not letting up, able to flood the board a little bit more, and that Snow Trigger can be huge if Renka's not able to deal with it because of its ability to lock out Renka's weapons if he can pick up a bow here in the next couple of turns. So N-Dash not wanting to deal with the Creeper at all. He's just going to send all to the face. We put the emphasis on freezing your opponent's face was probably the argument there. He could have cleared the entire Creeper if he wanted to. Opts to just put the pressure on.
Who to shoot?
Now Renka with a fairly awkward turn. He throws out the explosive trap, so all else he can do is hero power with all the 3-drops in hand. So he's either stuck floating a mana or just setting up the explosive trap. So he went for the mana efficiency there. And now N-Dash with the Leper Gnomes probably feels a little bit confident that it's the aggressive Face Hunter. I probably pretty much guessed that this is going to be explosive, so wants to get the value in on those trades first. The Snow Chugger was doomed from the start, so he's just going to go ahead and sacrifice that in. And maintain a pretty nice board here with the Lothar.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
Looks like he even went face with the... Oh no, okay. He did take the trade there. That would have been super aggressive to go face there with the Argent Horse Rider. But N-Dash wants to make sure that Renka is not able to get trades with his weapon, so he's going to set him down to 8.
Masterful.
Press the weapon, and there's the concede from Renka, and a really quick game for N-Dash with the Tempo Mage. So that was, or the Mech Mage rather. I said Tempo Mage at the beginning, but I believe it was more of a Mech Mage with the Mana Worms thrown in there. Seems pretty good. So bringing it back, the Mech Mage. And now, regardless of whether it was, N-Dash is up 2 games to nothing over Renka, who's going to go with his Hunter again. N-Dash has just the Druid left, so we'll see if he's able to finish the sweep here. Or if Renka can kind of stave off elimination, he's got to beat the Druid of N-Dash 3 times if he wants to advance to the championship match. Not a bad start again, not as ideal as his last one was, but the abusive. Still a little bit of board presence, forces N-Dash to deal with it. Not too concerned about getting the battle cry out of abusive when you play it on turn 1, because assuming it lives, you're going to get that 2 damage in anyway. So the damage value is negated. Knife Juggler does not seem great here because of how well it trades in with the Aspirant, but he's going to throw it out there anyway. Now N-Dash with the Innervate, though. He could Innervate out the Keeper of the Grove to peg that off very nicely. He could also Innervate out the Druid of the Claw, which sets up a little bit of a better board presence. And use the Aspirant to trade still, as we talked about earlier. That looks pretty good. Now Renka with a handful of secrets. I mean, I guess those combo with the bow pretty well, but not what you want to have ideally. So N-Dash guessing either guessing that it was explosive or freezing. Either way, he wanted to put the damage or get the Druid of the Claw bounce back to his hand so he can play it again. Procking the secret before Renka was able to set up a bow seems pretty good either way, regardless of what his intentions were.
I must safeguard the light.
And Dash has to throw down the Keeper. I mean, he doesn't need to get the value out of it. He just wants to get that down for board presence, because otherwise it's just going to be a hero power pass turn, which doesn't seem too great. And now, depending on where N-Dash goes here, he could give his opponent an extra charge on the bow. He does guess correctly. Prevents that benefit here. Renka has to flood the board. He's got the hero power. We'll see if he holds on to this bow to get value from the secret. He does. He's going to hold on to that. N-Dash, though, is not about to fizzle out. This looks like a pretty good Emperor Thorazin turn if you want to. You could argue it's a tad on the slow side, but not by much. If you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, you could have gone with like the Savage Combatant hero power or something. But then you would have had to pop the secret with that. Let's get value there. This number seems pretty good. Renka's not out of it yet. He decides to use the bow charge here now that he picked up the Leroy and just really put N-Dash on a clock. If N-Dash attacks into this, he would be dead to a kill command or a quick shot. So that's what he's debating on now, but how does the Druid kill your opponent if you can't attack the face? So he's going to have to use this eventually if he wants to win. Or if he's going to try to hold off until he can get some heals. So that seems to be the plan he's taking, so that he's not just dead to the aforementioned spells. But if he doesn't draw that heal quickly, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He could Wrath his own minion, but that wouldn't leave him with enough mana to play Ancient of Lore. So even if he does that and picks up the Lore, he would not be able to use it to heal this turn. You just got to make sure he hero powers, which will put him out of range of kill command or quick shot and Renka's hero power. So that's what he's going to do. Make sure he stays above 5 here. Very important. Renka, though, drawing into just these weapons here. But the fear of the spells for N-Dash could have, I mean, it was very justified, but it could have potentially lost him the game here, depending on how this plays out. Because now if he attacks in, oh, he does get the lore, so that's going to be huge. He can heal up for 5, so that was a huge top attack. He can use that and the hero power. Or with the is this lethal? The Force of Nature? He's got the swipe for 4. Oh, swipe with the Savage Combatant and the Living Roots? Wow, what a lot of damage. I did not calculate all of that out. I didn't think it was enough, but it definitely was. And N-Dash saw it, so he's going to complete the sweep with a lot of sneaky damage from hand. N-Dash is going to take the series and a very quick 3-0 over Renka. So that will do it for the second semifinals match. The first one went the distance, but this was a very quick 3-0, very impressive showing from N-Dash. So he will move on to the championship match. But before that, we're going to see Renka going down into the third place match. So we'll see how he does against Pride First. So that match will be coming up here very shortly. The third place match between Pride First and Renka. So stick around, you don't want to miss that. We'll be back soon. Okay guys, we are back already for the second, I apologize, for the third place match of the Elephino Open number 12, which will be between Pride First and Renka. Both of these players unfortunately lost their semifinals match, but they're still here. They're still going to be competing for the third place. Let me go ahead and show you that bracket. I just had it on screen, but let me go ahead and show it to you again real quick as I'm talking about it. So you can kind of see the prizes on the left side of your screen now that we're down to that match. So the winner of this match will take home $10 and 1 point in the BlizzCon Hearthstone World Championship standings. And fourth place will get $5, but they're also going to get 1 point in those standings. So I understand the money is not a whole lot, but those points that they can earn for playing in this tournament is really what the players come for, and they are able to get into some of those larger tournaments. The Americas Winter Preliminaries was actually going on this weekend, so hopefully you got to check out that and some of the best Hearthstone players in the world to go along with some of the ones we have here in this tournament. So these guys are very skilled as well. So let's go ahead and get them started, and then we'll get us into the action. Renka will be on the bottom of your screen. He will be playing Druid, Paladin, and Warlock, whereas Pride First will be on the top of your screen with Druid, Mage, and Warlock. So they should be here pretty soon. Let's get you guys into the action. There we go. We are battling friends. So let's get us in there for game one of the third place match of Elephino Open number 12. Let's see if we can spectate both players. There we go. Challenge completed. We can see both players' hands, and Renka's going to start with the Warlock, whereas Pride First is going to go with the Mage up top there. So Renka, we did not get to see his Warlock in the last match, but it does look like a Zoo variation. Pride First, I don't believe we got to see his Mage either, if I'm unless I'm mistaken. But I think this is the first time we're seeing it, and it looks to be a Freeze Mage up at the top there. So a little bit of something new from both of these players. We'll see what they have to offer here in this match. So Renka wants to get the pressure on early and often before the board clears, but he wants to have enough to refill the board after those, or potentially draw into a Lothab. If he's running it, he may or may not be, I do not know. But Lothab could be a huge card in this matchup if he has it. Pride First was fortunate enough to get a Mad Scientist early on here in the game. You want to use those to pull out the secrets out of your deck. For most of you, that's probably, a no duh, but we're going to talk about it anyway in case you're kind of new to the Hearthstone scene we're playing. That's why Mad Scientist is such a strong card and played in Freeze Mage, just as an example. Pride First does draw an Ice Block, but that will not affect whether a Ice Block or an Ice Barrier, which are the two secrets commonly run by Freeze Mage, from coming out of the Mad Scientist when it dies. So that being said, if you're Renka or you're the opponent playing a Freeze Mage, sometimes you will sequence your attacks in a manner that you've kind of forced your opponent to draw first before killing the mad scientist. So say, for example, you had a Acolyte of Pain on board as well as a mad scientist. You could make the argument for killing the Acolyte of Pain first, forcing your opponent to draw cards. Potentially they draw into those secrets, and then when you kill the mad scientist, they may not be able to pull a secret out of their deck because you just forced them to draw into them. It's just a little thing, but it may or may not have an impact on a match. So if you're doing that, that's something I've seen players do. Some Hearthstone professionals have done that in the past. Just something to think about next time you're playing. Renka has been able to establish a pretty good board here. It would not be super would not be super resilient, is what the word I'm looking for, to a Frost Nova Doomsayer here that could be coming up. But Renka does have the Owl to counter that if Pride First goes with that play, and he's already down to 19. So this Frost Nova Doomsayer, which is probably going to come out here due to the large board on Renka's size, or Renka's side. Oh, he's going to play another way. He's going to play a little bit slower. Pings off the Direwolf Alpha and draws himself a couple cards. He's only up to 9. That's one factor you got to look at when you're playing Freeze Mage or Handlock or something of that nature is you got to keep one eye on how many cards you actually have in your hand, so you don't risk overdrawing and losing a really important card for the matchup. So now, Pride First in a pretty awkward position here. Looks like he's going to have to go with that Frost Nova Doomsayer turn we talked about last turn. He stalled out just a little bit. He's set down to 10. Renka with the Owl, though, is going to put a stop to that. Sometimes you can argue for silencing your own minion to kill that off. So let's see what he's going to do here. He's going to Gorlock that for 4. He can silence off his own Dark Iron Door. Oh, I forgot about the Bran. Oh, the Bran, of course. It attacks it twice. That was huge. Very well played by Renka. I totally missed the Bran there. So the Gormok able to do 8 damage on its own. And that's not what you want to see if you're Pride First. That puts him in a really awkward position. He's going to need another board clear coming up here. But it doesn't look like he has it just yet. He's looking for a Blizzard. A Flame Strike would have been phenomenal here. It kills everything on the board except for the 1/1 Imp that would have come out of the Imp Gang boss. I believe that survives the Flame Strike. But he doesn't have either of those, so he's just going to have to set up the ice block so he doesn't die next turn and see if he can draw that in. Freeze Mage is never really out of it. They can come back from some really sticky situations, and good Freeze Mage players can, if they get the right draws, they can navigate out of some pretty crazy, almost seemingly unwinnable games, but because of what their deck is built to do, they're just never really out of it. As long as they stick around long enough, they've got a chance. So Renka definitely able to pop him here. Want to make sure he pops Pride First at as low a health total as he can. Ooh, attacking with the Voidwalker first doesn't really matter because he's able to set him down to 1, so really nice sequencing there. Make sure he hits him with the odd to put his opponent on with the odd attack minion, I meant. So that making sure he puts Pride First down to 1 exactly. And now he's going to flood the board. So the argument for not flooding the board completely is if Pride First has a Frost Nova here, he could fill up the entire board, or even a Blizzard, but I guess Blizzard wouldn't do it either because I believe the 4/4s that come out of the Blizzard are not frozen. So they would be able to attack and finish off the game. None of that's relevant because Pride First does not have any way to stall out here. He's looking to see if he's got enough damage to do it, but I don't think he does. With the Fireball and the Frostbolt and the Ice Lance, he can stop 3 of them, but Rinko only needs 1 attack. Or 1 damage, I mean. And he will take the game. So see what he wants to go with here. He's going to go with the Mad Scientist Frostbolt to zone to try to pull out another Ice Block. Helps him stall out a little bit. Was this the block or the barrier? It was the block. So he gets the block, so he will survive another turn. But what does he do now? Those Nerubian eggs are going to be super annoying. Because that means that Blizzard or Flame Strike is not an out. Alex Strauss, he'd be able to heal himself back up, but it wouldn't be enough. Rinko would still have enough damage on board. Pride First drawn, hoping something can save him. I'm not sure what he's fishing for. I don't know if there's a card that could save him unless he's running Reno Jackson. Not typically run in too many freeze mages because they run a lot of duplicate cards. So getting value off of Reno Jackson is can be very difficult. Not impossible, but can be very difficult unless the game goes on for quite a while. Or you just get an insane amount of draw out of your deck early on in the game. But this just does not seem like a winnable position for Pride First. I talked about them being able to wiggle out of some tight situations. This doesn't appear to be one of them. He's going to draw 1 more with Blood Mage. Picks up the barrier, but that's not going to be enough. So that Rinko is going to go ahead and take game 1 with his Warlock over the Freeze Mage of Pride First. And now we are ready for game 2. They are ready to get right back at it. So let's get into the action here.
Your soul shall be mine.
And Pride First going to switch to the Warlock. Rinko having to change classes, going to go with his Druid here in game 2. Rinko with a kind of awkward hand. He's got the Innervate if he wants to use that on the Druid of Claw, but that would be a turn 2 play. He could coin Innervate Druid of the Claw on turn 2, which is not terrible. Pride Fist doesn't have a turn on, or doesn't have a play on turn 1 either. But he does have a pretty nice curve coming up after that. Dark Peddler and the Imp-Gang Boss and the Dark Iron Dwarf seems pretty good. I'm gonna go with the Elven Archer off of that. Those 1-drops are really nice for kind of filling in your curve later on. Kind of makes some awkward turns a little bit less awkward when you're able to just kind of fit those minions in wherever you can. Looks like he's not going to go with the coin Innervate play that I talked about. He's debating on the Wrath and Living Roots if he wants to use that to kill the Dark Peddler here. It appears that Living Roots is winning the internal struggle as far as Rinko is concerned. Now whether he wants to use that as 2 damage and just kill it off directly, or he can summon 2 1/1s. I imagine he'll just do the 2 damage, and that's what he does. So now Pride First with one of the best 3-drops, if not the best 3-drops in the game. Just going to come out very quickly here. Now Rinko's going to have to navigate that. So now he's going to use the Innervate Druid of the Claws, what he's hovering over right now. He can back that up with a 4-drop. In the Shredder next turn with a Queen Sylvanas on turn 5. Looks really good depending on what he draws. These upcoming plays. Pride First can actually use the Defender of Argus here if he wants to prevent the Imp-Gang Boss from dying directly to the Direwolf Alpha and just get a lot of value out of the Imp-Gang Boss here. That's an option.
I wonder.
he could go for the implosion, and if he hits a 4, if he nails the 4 on the implosion, that's just be really disgusting. However, it would play super hard into swipe, which Renka does currently have, so I doubt that's the play. Be very greedy play to do regardless. Just kind of pointing it out there that it would be disgusting if it goes. He's going for it. We'll see what he gets. He gets the 3. That is not going to be enough to kill off the Druid of the Claw this turn. And with the swipe in hand from Renka, he can deal with his board very nicely if that's the path he wants to take. He is going to do that. He's going to swing there first. And just be able to swipe the face. So valuing more damage on the... Well, I guess it's not more damage on the face either. You could have argued for swiping the Imp Gang boss first. And then trading in the Druid of the Claw. You could have maintained 1 extra health on your Druid of the Claw, but probably not a huge deal. I'm sure Renka thought about it. Didn't seem too much value there, but it may have had an impact with that Elven Archer, though. That could have been huge there. Elven Archer being able, the difference between that being able to pick off the Druid of the Claw or not, we'll see if it's a factor later on in the game. Now Renka's got the coin Wrath for 1 here. Oh, nope, he's going to coin Hero Power. I apologize. I spoke too soon. Which makes sense, because generally if you're going to Wrath for 1, you want to do that first, just in case the card that you draw comes out, makes a better play than the one you currently have at hand. So the fact that he didn't do it first kind of should have signaled to me that he was just going to Hero Power that down. Although at the same token, Paladin Shredder is probably the best 4-drop in the game, so I don't know what would have come out that would have changed his mind. Aside from maybe an Innervate. You could Innervate it out the Sylvanas. So now here on turn 6, the Sylvanas looks like it's going to come out. Can't really get any value trades with that Shredder because of the Defender of Argus. Even trading into the Peddler would cause it to die. Not a super favorable trade for Renka, but he's pretty much got to do it. And now, Pride Force has a couple buff cards in there, so he can really dictate these trades if he wants to. But I imagine he'll want to kill off that Sylvanas before trading in, or before playing too many minions. He could cash in the Defender of Argus first to prevent his opponent from taking anything. And then follow it up with some minions on board. He's going to go with playing the Knife Juggler instead. Looks like he's going to see where these juggles go. If this juggle hits the Sylvanas, he can use the... It does not. I was going to say he could use the Abusive Sergeant on the Defender of Argus to trade that in. And hope Renka takes one of the weaker minions. But instead he's going to have to flood the board and get a little bit more value out of that Defender of Argus able to trade in. So now Renka hovering over that Wrath kind of gives him a little bit better options on which minion he steals. He does not want to take the damage Defender of Argus. That would probably be the worst one. So killing that off first seems pretty strong. It's a good trade here for him, and we'll see what he's able to pull off. Gets the Haunted Creeper. All 3 of those minions were not terrible. So, but if you had to guess, at least that was the least attack power minion on the surface. So I'm not sure which Pride First wanted him to take, but he got the Creeper, so that's good for him. And now the Juggle does hit the Druid of the Claw. Does not really affect the trades very much unless Pride First wants to kill it off with a Doom Guard. He'd want to use one of the other cards first, though, obviously, because otherwise he's going to discard them. So that's what he's debating on here. If he wants to sacrifice a card that way, he just used the abusive here and trade that in. Ooh, he does get the juggle. That's not exactly where he wanted that juggle to go, because now the trades are a little bit different. Oh, there we go. There's the Druid of the Claw soaking up the juggles. So now that being said, Prideforce is like, oh, okay. We'll just trade in the juggler there and just get the extra attack to your face with the Flame Imp. Not being greedy with the Knife Juggler. He has combo in hand. He could play it, but it wouldn't be enough. It would only be 17 damage with the current board. So Renka wrapping that for 3. With this hero power, he is still alive on board. We've seen a decent amount of buff cards from Prideforce, so we'll see if he's got 1 damage in hand is all he needs. Imp King Boss is not going to do it. He can tap into it. Tapping puts him down to 18. Depending on how he does these trades here, though, he would be dead to combo regardless. So even if the Shredder just lives, Renka would have 20 damage next turn, so a tap doesn't really make much difference as far as that's concerned. But if he's going to kill the Shredder, then he may want to see what comes out of it first. So it's kind of risky here. He could tap. I'm not sure what he's got in his deck left for damage, though, but if he thinks he can pull it out, takes the play, he's going to tap. Voidwalker, not a bad pickup. It's at least a taunt. It will get in the way of one of these minions. Prideforce got to decide how he wants to trade here. He's got to get rid of as many minions as he can to play around Force of Nature Savage Roar. Oh, he's going all face. He's setting Renka down to 1. And with that, Force of Nature Savage Roar is going to do it for Renka. Prideforce didn't think he had it. He played to win there. He had guaranteed lethal next turn if Renka doesn't have this combo, but he did. And yet another Druid game ends with Force of Nature Savage Roar. So Renka going to be able to even up the series. And they are all ready for game 3, so let's get you guys into the action here.
Versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
I will fight with honor.
We saw Ragnaros here from Renka's Paladin. I don't think we got to see that when he used his Paladin last time. We only got to see it in 1 game. He does not have a turn 1 play, but he's got a pretty good turn 2. Oh, he picks up the Secret Keeper just a little bit late. That would have been nice to have last turn. But Prideforce back on his Freeze Mage, so Renka knows what he's up against. He knows this is a Freeze Mage. So he's just going to fill the board with a really nice turn 3 play and muster. Looks like he's even going to trade off the Mad Scientist. Ooh, Prideforce draws into the second ice block, so we know that secret is Ice Barrier. It could have been blocked because the Mad Scientist died before the card draw. So that would have been a situation there where if Renka decides to attack face, not saying it was wrong, but if he decides to attack face there, Prideforce draws into the ice block here, and it would have been impossible for him to pull an ice block out of his hand with the Mad Scientist. Didn't matter anyway because he pulled the barrier regardless.
I'll never tell.
And now with all these 1/1s, Prideforce is going to get a lot of value out of this Acolyte of Pain. Prideforce already up to 7 cards. So Renka could not quite overdraw him if he wanted to, because 2 more attacks into the Acolyte with those 1/1s would have put Prideforce up to 9, plus the card draw for his turn would have been 10. So not an overdraw situation there, so he just decides to send it all to the face, start chipping away at that ice barrier armor. And a really full board here for Renka, but not very resilient to AoE, which could be coming out this turn if he really wants to. But at the same time, is it really that threatening for Pride First? You don't really want to overreact to your opponent's board too much either. Let's double check what the secret was in case we forgot. We saw it played from hand, so we should have known it was the competitive spirit. So if this board survives, though, that's going to be a lot of damage coming at Pride First. If clear does not come here, he's going to start with the Frostbolt, see if it's Avenge. It is not Avenge or Redemption. So now he knows it's not Noble Sacrifice either. So it's one of the less common secrets. So he's playing around the competitive spirit a little bit by pinging off one more minion. He was pretty sure it was either competitive spirit or repentance. It could have been Sacred Trials, but not too many people run that. Now Renka has the Piloted Shredder here on turn 5, not terrible. Sits that in the middle perfectly. Really nice Shredder placement. In case you're not familiar, you want to put Shredder in the middle between two minions, because when it dies, it could pop out a Flame Tongue Totem or a Direwolf Alpha, which buffs the attack of the minions on either side of it. So if you watch Hearthstone a lot, you probably get sick of hearing about that, but if you're kind of new to the scene, that's one of the more quote-unquote advanced moves, if you will. And now Pride for setting up the secret, so he's not going to use an AoE clear here. He could still coin a Frost Nova, but he can't back it up with the Doomsayer. So he's going to use the Blood Mage Spellnos for draw next turn. But meanwhile, this Blessing of Kings here means a lot of damage. So that's 10 plus 14 damage on board. Blessing of Kings would be 18 damage. So we can put Pride First down to 5.
Reporting for duty.
And the Paladin Shredder is resilient to a clear, so even if the Frost Nova Doomsayer does go out, it will buy a turn for Pride First, but it will still be left with a Shredder baby to deal with. And the Cog Hammer in hand means a potential pop for Renka coming up here in a couple turns. Renka has 4 damage from hand. Consecrate Cog Hammer is not quite enough. He's going to start chipping away. The Divine Shield will obviously not do anything. But he wanted to get that shift damage in so that next turn, a swing with the Cog Hammer and Consecrate will pop his opponent. Vitality Totem not terrible here. One of the ways that you can win against Freeze Mage is forcing them to use all their burns, so if you can keep a high health total while they're using their burn meanwhile, then you can fatigue them out that way. So Pride First, knowing that, has to use the first half of a Forgotten Torch to clear it off. And now, Pride First, seeing this Cog Hammer, he's going to go in with some damage and keep his opponent's face frozen. So now Renka will not be able to pop him with that play he had in mind. The Cog Hammer Consecrate. So he's going to have to flood the board again here. The Serious Challenger going to pull out a couple. As we saw earlier, just the competitive spirit played. So these are going to be, there's the Redemption, there's the Avenge, and there's the Noble Sacrifice. So pretty much what was to be expected, having already seen a competitive spirit. And now Pride First is out of face freezes. In his hand, at least.
I bring life.
Renka already set to 15, so Pride First is just going to Alexstrasza himself back up to 15. which does prevent his block from being popped this turn. He's got 10, 12 damage if he wants to send it all to the face. He can put up the taunt, but the Noble Sacrifice would get in the way of that Alexstrasza anyway, so the taunt is not necessarily to stop the Alexstrasza, but it is resilience to AoE clears. And it's just more pressure on the board. Pryfor's going to have to dig into his deck and see what he can draw. He's just got to stall this out a little bit longer, which he can do with those blizzards. So he is definitely not out of it. Renka's already down to 15. Brightfirst has a fireball in hand. If he can draw into some more damage, he can still come back in this thing. We'll see if it matters where the Avenge goes. It doesn't matter yet because the Blizzard's going to freeze it out anyway. Pridefirst still at 5, so Renka not able to pop him still. He's been hiding that Consecrate for quite a while, trying to use it as an Ice Block pop, but not yet. Ooh, the Avenge showing on there was could have been relevant because it means the Alexstrasza does die to just the Sludge Belcher, so that could have impacted the game. If that Alexstrasza is able to get a couple attacks and take out some value trades, that could definitely affect the game. Ooh, a Frost Nova coming up here means Pridefirst has some more stall. So he's going to go with the Frost Nova Doomsayer turn here. Kind of locks out Renka for this turn. Even if he draws one of the big boys like Tyrion, he'd probably still play it because of the Ashbringer that he would have gotten out of it would be enough to pop Pridefirst on the next turn. But Pridefirst with the Pyroblast, he's got the Pyroblast. Even if he gets popped this turn, he's got the Fireball Ice Block for next turn. He can definitely survive, so the Fireball gonna do it next turn. And that means that Pridefirst is going to take this game. We are gonna see a pop here from Renka. He's gonna pop him at 2. That isn't gonna be enough. I suppose you could pop him at 1 with the hero power. So he does do that. Popping Pridefirst at 1, not gonna be relevant. He doesn't know it yet. Probably has a little bit of an inclination. He knows he's just dead to a fireball. He's got to try it anyway, though, so he pops him. Pridefirst at 1, got the fireball. And Pridefirst, with that note, will take game 3 with his mage. And he will just be down to his druid to get a win, to take 3rd place. So we'll see if that's able to happen. They are wasting no time. We are ready for game 4. Pridefirst obviously didn't have much decision. He had to use the druid as we just talked about. And Renka knew exactly what he wanted to use. He's going back in with the Paladin. Gonna give it another shot. See if it can do a little bit better for him this time. Most players would tell you that Freeze Mage is favored over Secret Paladin anyway because of all their AoE clears that Pridefirst was fortunate enough to draw into for the most part. So now we'll see here if it's able to get a win over the Oh, I apologize. He must have won with Druid earlier. That was my mistake. I totally messed that up, apparently. So I apologize for that. I just put one more mistake on my side here. Throwing me off my game a little bit. I thought he won with the Warlock. earlier, but no, he was off lethal on that one, wasn't he? Yeah, that's right. And then he set up Renka to win with his druid. So there you go. Okay, that's what it was. So I apologize for that. I'd given the win to the wrong class there on the scoreboard. So now we have Renka's Seeker Paladin against Pride First Warlock. And Renka getting a lot of value out of these secrets on the Secret Keeper here. Just setting up the value trades very nicely. Wants to take control of the board.
Why do you fall? My shield for Argus.
And see if he can keep that control on the board until he gets the Mysterious Challenger to come out on turn 6. The Noble Sacrifice is going to pop. And the Redemption will bring back the 2-1. So Renka, with those two secrets, able to hold his board off a little bit. Knife Juggler is not a terrible pickup here, combined with the hero power. So able to get some trades in here. See how he wants to manipulate this. It goes to the face, so it doesn't really help him too much on the board. He could throw the spider in if you wanted to get a couple more juggles. He's going to do that second. Give himself a couple more targets for the juggle. Is able to clear off one, but there's still enough damage to kill the Secret Keeper. But now with that trade, Pride First is not able to kill the Knife Juggler just on board. He would need the help of the Defender of Argus, which he does have in hand. Power Overwhelming seems a little overkill, but it is an option. He's going to go with the Secret Keeper first. Kill that off. Now the Doom Guard discards Defender of Argus and Imp Gang Boss, so pretty good cards to have. I'm not sure which ones he was hoping to get discarded, but nevertheless. So this is going to be Avenge, Competitive Spirit, and Noble Sacrifice. Hover over those real quick for you. Now Renka, he's buffing up this Doomguard a lot. Or it looked like he was going to the Power Overwhelming, but there's still a Noble Sacrifice in a way. So if he uses that Power Overwhelming, he's going to have to use the Doomguard, pop the Noble Sacrifice with the lower attack Doomguard, so we can send 11 to either the face or the Mysterious Challenger. We'll see where this Avenge goes. This could have a huge impact. Avenge does not go on the Mysterious Challenger, so he's able to take that trade. I guess he was able to take it anyway because it was going to die regardless, so he was probably hoping it actually went on the Mysterious Challenger, so I take that back. Dr. Boom here means Renka's going to take really full control of the board here. He can trade off if he wants to. Figure why not? Pride First is fizzled out for the most part up there, and he sees it as well, so he's going to concede that game, which means Renka is going to take this game with his Paladin. Okay, so we're going to take a really quick break here while we set up the championship match between Endashed and Arusu. So let me set that up real quick, and then we'll be back shortly. We will get ready to start the championship match here of Elephino Open number 12. Any second now. We've got Endashed is going to be on the bottom of your screen. He's going to have Druid, Mage, and Warlock, whereas Arusu will be on the top of your screen with Priest, Warlock, and Warrior. They're ready to go. Let's get you guys into there. Hopefully we got a lot more awesome action coming your way. Okay, so here we go. We can see both players' cards. Looks like we might be missing one of N-Dash. Hopefully that won't be an issue once the mulligans are complete. There we go. So N-Dash opening up with his Warlock. Arusu also opening up with the Warlock. We know that N-Dash was running the Handlock variation, whereas Arusu was running the Zoo variation.
Buying or selling.
Angry Chicken, Bloodsail Corsair, Corruption. He's gonna go with the Corruption. Don't need to debate on that anymore. Both these players with Golden Warlock looks pretty cool. So definitely highly experienced players with this class. Arusu fortunate enough to have the 3-drop Imp Gang boss. And Dash gonna have to make a little bit more decisions on his end. He's got the coin, so he could essentially have 4 mana if he wants it, which means that he could clear the board with that Hellfire. Doubt that's the play he's going to go with. He's going to take the attack first, use the Corruption on the Imp Gang boss, and just send the rest to the face would be my guess. And that's what he's going to do. Imp Gang boss going to get some value trades before it goes to its demise. Oh, without that Corruption, it could have gotten a lot more value and been really difficult for N-Dash to deal with.
My shield for Argus.
So the Defender of Argus does not save it from dying, but does allow it to kill the Zombie Chow. And the Creeper to finish off the Peddler there. So now N-Dash on turn 4, kind of a reflex as the Piloted Shredder. Other option would have been obviously the Implosion, could have been argued for. But Arusu doing very nice with the Zoo Warlock, able to fill up the board, control. It's slightly resilient to AoE with that Creeper, but not very much with the Piloted Shredder on board. So he's just going to drop that Lotheb to kind of lock out the AoE clears, at least for this turn, and see if he can put the pressure on even more with the Lotheb. Arusu also has a bunch of buff cards in his hand, especially with that Bran Bronzebeard. So would that be enough for lethal next turn, assuming the entire board survives here, and N-Dash does not taunt? Well, he's not going to taunt. He throws out the Ooze. He does take the trade, but that's the same exact amount of damage on board. N-Dash with 10 damage on board. He does not quite have 10 from hand, though. He's got 4 with the Power Overwhelming, and then 2 from the Direwolf Alpha, and 2 from the Abusive. He does not have enough mana to put out the Bran Bronzebeard in addition to all of those. So the most damage he has is 18. So I don't think he'll want to get quite that invested. Coming up on turn 6 would be a Reno turn if N-Dash had it in hand. We know he doesn't, but Arusu does not, so not a whole lot of point in getting super invested with the Power Overwhelming as well. So he's just going to dictate the trades here with the help of the Direwolf Alpha. And set up the Nerubian Egg to make his board resilient to AoE. N-Dash does have the Hellfire, but that doesn't do much here. The Lotheb would survive, and the Egg would become even stronger.
So many.
N-Dash does have enough mana to Hellfire and Dark Bomb. So he could be left with just the Nerubian Weblord if he wants to. He could taunt up a Molten if he wants to. If he does that, he'll probably start off with a tap. There goes the tap. Not signaling that he's going to do that regardless, but he's going to tap. He's got the Dark Bomb. Finish that minion off, and then he's got the Molten Coin Sun Fury. Set up a pretty nice wall. Arusu is able to deal with it on board, and even more so with the... Oh, he's got the Bran Gormok again to deal with the Molten Giant coming up here the same way we saw them deal with the Doomsayer in a previous series. That seems pretty strong again. He's debating whether he wants to do it because it does kind of play into AoE a little bit, but just the Shadow Flame, not the Hellfire. Most of his board would still be alive after Hellfire, so it looks like he's just going to go for it. It's just too strong of a play to ignore. Able to essentially kill that Mold Giant for free. He gets the 5 damage on the face because if N- goes for the Hellfire, it's probably going to be GG anyway, and regardless, N- would be forced to trade the Sun Fury into the Loatheb. So might as well get the Loatheb attacking on the face as opposed to making the trade for your opponent and setting up your minion to die to Hellfire. N- forced the life tap. Even if he picked with the Reno, he wouldn't have enough mana to do it. So let me try to get the score straight this time. Arusu wins game 1 with the Warlock. So Arusu gonna go up game 1 in the series. They are ready for game 2. Let's get you guys right back in there. And this time, I will hopefully correctly
Your soul shall be mine.
give Arusu's Warlock. We're going to gray it out there real quick. You should see that. So Arusu's Warlock with the victory is now grayed out and therefore locked out. So he will not be able to use it. For the remainder of this match. Sorry, I lost my train of thought mid-sentence. So Arusu switching to the Priest and N-dashed, sticking with the Warlock. Just kind of got overran. That Bran Gormok was just really insane from Arusu's last turn. Really hard to overcome the early game pressure Zoo was able to put on there. So really good showing from Arusu. N-dash just couldn't quite keep up with the AoE clears or the heals. So you see if he has a little bit better luck this turn. Generally, the Priest will have a lot more time to kind of put together your game plan as the handlock. Generally not as threatening early game. You tend to take it a little bit slower. Arusu does not have a dragon in hand for the Wormrest agent. Valence Chosen looks okay. Dark Cultist looks a little bit better. So he's going to do that. Go ahead and get the trade in with the Zombie Chow first. Make sure that he heals his opponent before attacking in with the Curator. Sequencing was very good on there. And dash this time with the Imp King boss on turn 3. Now it looks like the Valence is pretty much the only play here. It does allow for a nice trade into the Imp King boss, and Curator able to finish off for 1-1. Arusu still without a dragon in his Dragon Priest. So see what he's able to do. Interesting, the Implosion going into a Holy Nova turn. Arusu has the Holy Nova, and that's just going to be a huge game changer here on turn 5. Heals his Dark Cultist all the way back up to a 5-8 with the Valence Chosen. And Dash is going to try to slow it down a tad with this Sludge Belcher. The trade is super nice for Arusu. He's even able to heal it. Picks up the Northshire Cleric off the top, so he can draw a card. Still no dragon. See if he can pick up a dragon here. Nope, it's the other Holy Nova. He's debating on putting down the Wormrest agent. Regardless, he does throw it down, which N-Dash now knows. Arusu does not have a dragon in his current hand. Doesn't mean he can't top deck one. But N-Dash going to set that up to die to the Demon Rat. The Slime would have died regardless, so wants to make sure he gets the value trade in there first. He'd go for the Abusive into the Big Game Hunter. Finally deal with this Dark Cultist that was putting on a lot of pressure. He's going to allow it to get the value heal on the Warm Rest agent, but not too big of a deal. It even rhymes. This Holy Nova, though, gonna be able to clear up the board yet again. And Rooster's gonna load it up with even the Zombie Chow. And Dash turn 7 reflex with the Dr. Boom. Arusu still without a dragon. He's just going to put the pressure on the face, use the Light Bomb to clear off that Dr. Boom. Usually a pretty good answer. Bombs go face, which is probably what Arusu wanted. Means his board's going to stick around for a little bit longer. The life tap into the brand, if that brand sticks around, that could be huge for the antique heal bot. Voidwalker off the first one. A little bit longer on the sliding on the second one. Relinquish Seeker, let's see if he can able to fill up the board enough to use it. Doesn't think so, he's going to take the Clockwork No instead, a little bit more guaranteed value off that one. And now if he's able to pick up a dragon, he is not. So the Corruptor, not able to get the Battle Cry. So we'll see here, heals back up the Zombie Chow so it does not die to the brand. There's the Reno for N-Dash, finally gets it.
We're gonna be rich.
Able to heal himself all the way back up. Twice because of the brand, so I get to see the cool animation a couple times. Arusu with the Ysera, that could be huge here. Finally gets a dragon. So with the Blackwind Corruptors, he's able to finish off that Reno pretty nicely. He can dictate these value trades however he wants to. He is finally going to allow N-Dash to cash in the Zombie Chow, but he's already at full health, so not a whole lot of value off of that. And Draxus doesn't seem like a really great play here either, so Twisting Nether looks a lot better. Clear up the board, just kind of reset the game. At least for N-Dash. Arusu is still down to 20, but he feels pretty good dropping this Ysera on an empty board, so... The Siphon Soul, though, a huge pickup for N-Dash. A huge pickup. Arusu saw the Twisting Nether, saw his opportunity to drop it. Drop Ysera on an empty board. N-Dash did not have a way to deal with it, but he top decks it with the Siphon Soul. And if you're Arusu, seeing that come off the top, that's pretty unfortunate for him. See if the Museum Trader gets a Chill Maw. He could have double Chill Maw. He does take that route. So the Chill Maw proccing the other Chill Maw as the dragon, so if it does die this turn, it will proc it, but N-Dash going to set himself down to 9. Had to use that weapon to deal with the Chill Maw, otherwise they're going to get in a pretty good amount of chip damage. Now he's going to have to answer another Chill Maw, but this hero power though is going to start putting in work, as well as the Sylvanas. So I really like this hero power Sylvanas Sun Fury Protector turn. Looks to be coming out here. Arusu has the Entomb, which is a really good answer for the Sylvanas. You can take the value trade with Chill Maw even. And set up Elise along with the Entomb, so not terrible. He can opt for the Dream as well. If he just wants to really slow down and really control the board, seems pretty good. Because those 6/6s from N-Dash are just gonna keep coming thanks to that hero power. There's the Entomb we talked about. Looks like the Dream's gonna happen as well. The only card he was able to get off of the Ysera. And he's just gonna go face. Seems to make sense to me. Set your opponent to lethal next turn with either minion surviving. Prevents a swing from the weapon for N-Dash. He does have the heal bot though, so it's definitely not over yet. That Infernal probably going to be stuck in his hand for the rest of the game because of the hero power. This is so much better than playing it from hand. So now Endash did have the answer with the Shadow Flame. Arusu top decks the Entombed Sylvanas. I can only assume it was the Entombed Sylvanas, unless he's running his own. And now Endash going to have an answer for this. He does have the taunt. He does have the heal. So he's got a couple ways to deal with this pressure. But none of them super great at preventing the Sylvanas from getting a minion. So even goes with the heal bot, does not care where the Sylvanas goes here. He's got the taunt for next turn if he wants it. So Rusu can be a little bit greedy with the Sylvanas if they want to take the value trade on the heal bot, or just keep putting the pressure on Endash and go straight to the face. Endash would have 9, 12, 15, 16, 17 damage. So he would be one off lethal, assuming his board survives. And Arusu does not heal. Arusu does go face here, so gonna leave the heal bot alive. Heals himself back up to 20 anyway. Emperor Thorzen, not terrible here. But he's gonna have to taunt as well if he wants to survive. Doesn't have any heals in hand, so Defender Vargas looking pretty good.
How shall I destroy you?
But if he combos that with the hero power or the Lotheb or the Emperor, the Sylvanas can trade into it. If it steals the other taunt, he's not quite dead, but he's in trouble. The Azure Drake would be free to go face. We've seen both Valen's Chosens from Arusu, so that's not really an issue, but we'll see how he navigates this. So he's going to take the trade there. Seems really good. Takes the value trade on the Azure Drake there. Now Arusu can take either one of these minions. It's going to be a 50-50. Does get the taunt.
Are you mocking me?
Not really super relevant. Whichever one he took would have gotten the trade. Oh, but with the heal, it does become relevant. I take that back. Just a step behind, as usual. Here's the Dark Bomb, though. That's a huge pickup. Prevents him from having to Hellfire this down, but he's going to Hellfire and clear it off completely, thanks to the Dark Bomb. And now we'll see if Endash can cling to life here with 3 health, which can be really difficult for Arusu to do from hand. Cabal, not going to do it. He's not dead yet. He's pretty much got to play it out there as the pressure. Because it's a pseudo-taunt anyway, because if Endash doesn't kill it or his opponent, then the Cabal would win. So that's going to be a heal for 6, essentially, as well. Stall out the game. The Infernal from hand finally gets to come down. Gets more attack than the Emperor. Didn't really care about the Emperor procs. And now a Light Bomb would have been really good for Arusu, but he doesn't pick it up. So that means that Endash will take game 2 with his Warlock, and now the Warlocks both have a victory. The series is tied up at 1 game apiece, and it's going to become a best of 5 between these two phenomenal players. Arusu with the Priest and Warrior left, and Endash with the Druid and Mage left. So they are ready for game 3. Let's get you guys into the action.
Undo it. The light shall bring victory.
I must protect
Let's go ahead and give the Warlock his victory there. There you have it. The score is correct on your screen. The match title is not, as I just realized. This is the finals, so I apologize for that. There we go. Now that's correct as well.
Is someone injured?
Just all over the place. I'm having a little bit of an off day apparently, so I apologize for that. The Coin Wild Growth, though, really strong play for the Druid. Able to ramp up into this Shade here on turn 3 seems pretty good. He's just got a disgusting curve coming up here. He had the Shade into the Shredder, so Wild Growth, Shade, Shredder, that's like the dream start for Druid. N-Dash could even pick off one of these minions if he wants to. Prevent the Northside Cleric from drawing cards, but didn't really have to here because neither one of them can attack into the Powdered Shredder without dying, so not a whole lot of value there. Turn 4 here, gonna go and throw out the other Shredder, seemed pretty good. Swiped didn't do a whole lot unless you really wanted to prevent card draw for your opponent. You could have swiped the Northside Cleric. Arusu does have some dragons in hand this game, so he can go ahead and throw out the Blackwing Corruptor to deal with one of these Paladin Shredders. We'll see what comes out here. That can establish the trades going forward. 3 attack, pretty good for N-Dash, means that the only way that Arusu can kill it without killing a minion would be with the Guardian. So we'll see how he wants to navigate this. Face is always an option. He's going to go into the Shredder instead and see what he can get off of there. Sets up a value trade really nicely for the Twilight Whelp. So well sequenced there. And Dash picking up the Savage Roar. Not really help clear it super great. That Swipe Hero Power seems a lot better. That's what he's going to do. Swipe Hero Power, kill off the Cleric. Set himself up with a pretty nice board. Finally going to cash in that Shade. Coming up on a Light Bomb turn. He wanted to make sure he got in that attack with the Shade in case Arusu decided to Light Bomb this turn. He would have gotten exactly 0 value out of that Shade. So that's why he decided to unstealth it now. Savage Combatant, not terrible here.
Guide my lands.
He's gonna go with the Aspirant Wild Growth Hero Power instead. He killed the Azure Drake this way. Plays around Holy Nova a little bit better, so really strong play from N-Dash. If he kills the Drake with the Shade, then it would die to the Holy Nova. So good sequencing there, followed up by a nice play from Arusu. Sees the opportunity to essentially kill the Aspirant for free while keeping his Whelp alive with the help of the Holy Nova. N-Dash, now that his Shade is in range of Big Game Hunter, we'll see if he wants. It's been in range of a Shadow Word Death for a while, but it's finally grown up, so it could be killed by Big Game Hunter. I doubt Arusu's running it, just pointing it out that it's survived this long. Takes the Wrath for 1. The Savage Combatant Hero Power going to be able to finish off the Worm Rest Agent quite smoothly. And I assume this Shade will continue to go face as long as it can. There it goes. Light Bomb finally being picked up by Arusu. Not terrible here. Seems like the best, if not the only option, really. Gotta decide if he wants to heal or Power Word Shield. I imagine a heal's gonna come out. It's just a matter of where. Healing the Whelp prevents it from dying to a Hero Power next turn. But none of this matters because N-Dashed has combo, so if he doesn't heal his face, he would be dead to the combo. So I was making the argument for heal on the whelp, but that would be disastrous for Arusu. He would not play around combo at all, so I think you pretty much have to heal yourself here. As the priest, you know that 14 is the magic number for Druid, and it's super greedy to heal your Twilight Whelp here. Oh, he goes for the Power Ward Shield. He's going to draw a card, and that's going to mark the end of the game. Arusu did not play around the combo here, and that means that N-Dashed is going to have the combo. So yet another Druid game ends with Force of Nature Savage Roar, and N-Dashed going to go up 2-1 with his Druid victory. He just needs to win a game with his Mech Mage that we saw earlier. So they are ready to go. Let's get you guys back into this action. No hesitation whatsoever on Arusu's part. He knew he was coming right back with the priest.
The light shall bring victory.
You asked for it.
Let's go ahead and give the Druid a win here. Gotta focus on doing a better job of keeping those updated after the snafu last game. And now N-Dashed, oof, picks up a 1-drop. That was huge. Now look at this curve he's got. A 1, 2, 3, 4 curve. If he can leave a mech on board when that Blast Mage comes out, that can be huge. Huge. Arusu does have a Drake's for the Wormrest agent, so he could coin out that agent if he wants to. It looks like he's going to go with the double 1-drop, though, instead. Seems pretty strong. Just fill up the board as much as you can to combat these smaller minions from N-Dashed. N-Dashed, though, recognizing that Arusu is going to try to farm that Northside Cleric for card draw, is going to use the hero power this turn instead of the Snow Chugger. Pretty strong play for him, but it does put him behind on board. And now N-Dashed really hoping that this mech survives for the Goblin Blast Mage, but I don't think it will. Thanks to that Power Ward Shield, Arusu able to double trade into there and keep both of his minions alive. Even able to heal that Wormrest agent back up so it doesn't die to a ping. Fortunately, N-Dash has a backup plan in this Shredder. He's going to get another shot at this Blast Mage mech combo. If not, he can hold off for turn 6. And he's got the Snow Chugger Blast Mage for a guaranteed Battle Cry benefit. Arusu, though, really able to have a nice curve and capitalize off of having dragons in hand. Able to buff, he was able to buff the Whelp, the Agent, and the Guardian here. All thanks to the Azure Drake being in hand for the most part. Sir Finley coming off the Unstable Portal. Not exactly the save the day card he was hoping for. Let's see what hero power he can get. I doubt he's going to take the Shaman hero power. He is going to go with the Paladin one, help him flood the board a little bit more.
I can fix anything.
And now Arusu, without a AoE in hand, that would have been devastating for N-Dash if Arusu had another Holy Nova here. Ooh, that's going to help him clear the board, though, if he wants to take that. Doesn't clear the board completely, but he can kill 2 minions in this way.
Must consider.
Let's see how he wants to do it. He's got the Blackwing Corruptor, but if he plays that, he's going to want to wait until after this effect goes off, for obvious reasons. Now the Blackwing Corruptor preventing a freeze coming out. And this is the risk with aggressive decks such as Mech Mage. He's kind of falling behind, really. Arusu and the Priest had a lot of the answers early game, a lot of taunts, a lot of heals, a lot of buffs to really hold off the early game pressure and prevent the mech synergies and snowball effect that N-Dash was hoping for out of these mechs. This Northshire going to be able to farm at least one card. Looks like it might be able to stick around for a couple turns. Unless N-Dash wants to fireball it, but it doesn't seem quite that threatening, especially with the Corruptor on board. Or the Guardian. Both with the exact same stats, except that one has taunt, so might as well clear that one off. Because it could also be healed up larger. So that's why he decided to fireball that one. No real great trades here, so he's forced to go to the face. Arusu picking up Ysera, can't be played for a couple turns, but he's had that in his hand now for a little while. Light Bomb seemed a little bit of an overreaction to the board. So now that he's taken full control of the board on Arusu's side, it's N-Dash going to try to fight hard here to get it back with his Blast Mage. He's going to need a lot of help. Did get 2 on the Corruptor, allowing him to trade in and finish that off. It leaves the Cleric alive to farm a couple more cards, though, if that's what Arusu wants to do. Arusu has the Shrinkmeister, but no Cabal. So N-Dash and the Mech Mage generally doesn't run a whole lot of Shadow Lord Death targets. So he's going to go ahead and use it there for the value. Just going to navigate these trades in the best way that he can. Arusu already has Light Bomb to deal with Dr. Boom, which would be another Shadow Lord Death target. Oh, there's one. Lotheb would be one as well. It would be using a lot of mana to do that. So continuing to put on the pressure and fill up the board, but Arusu has been handling it very well. And this Chillmaw top deck, not sure if he wants to play it or not, because he does have the Ysera in hand, so it would cost 3 damage to go off across the board. Not sure if that's good for him or not. He's going to opt for not to play Ysera here. Wants to start off by drawing. And it looks like he is going to go with the Chillmaw. Nope. Hold the phone. He's straight there goes the Chillmaw. He was debating on it because the Lotheb and Ping will deal with that. And it will also allow the... Okay, well, it doesn't matter now. I don't have to debate on that because N-Dash is going to concede this one. And Arusu, that means that he has tied up the series with his Priest. So we're going to go to Game 5 for one more game in the Elephino Open number 12. This one's for all the marbles. Whoever wins this game will be the Elephino Open number 12 champion. Let me give the Priest a victory here. So there we go. You can see they are grayed out. So Game 5, championship match, Elephino Open number 12. Arusu on his Warrior versus N-Dash on the Mage. Arusu, see if he can stave off the early game pressure. As effectively as he was this last game, he does not have the Fiery War Axe, which would have been the ideal answer to that Mana Worm.
Hurry up! Portals online!
N-Dash stops to not coin out the Cogmaster.
The blade be thirsty.
Would have been an option here. Arusu is going to use the Inner Rage on his Armor Smith to clear off the Mech Warper, prevent any kind of shenanigans on discounted mechs coming out, as well as eliminating the mech synergy for the coin Blast Mage, which could have happened. So the Frostbolt coin ping here is going to lock out Arusu's board for this turn. And set up the Frothing to die to a ping next turn. Arusu fortunately had the Despite, able to finally deal with that pesky Mana Worm. And Dash got to start with the Unstable Portal, see what he can get off of it. Not something he can play while killing the Frothing, so he's going to hold off on that, because that's definitely a priority here. One big thing that N-Dash is looking to do is kind of freeze out the warrior here with the help of the Water Elemental or the Snow Chugger. If he can control the board with one of those and lock out Arusu's weapons, that would be really huge for him. Has not been able to do that yet. This minion does die to the weapon pretty easily if Arusu wants to unleash the second Despite swing, but he may be saving it to propagate patrons. But it looks like he's going to use one propagator anyway, so he's debating on the Inner Rage execute play, it looked like.
What now?
So we'll see what he wants to play. He's got a couple ways to propagate patrons, so he was just debating on whether he wanted to take 5 damage to the face or not. He does opt to, seems like the cleanest play. Hero power on the back end of it, setting up for a Dr. Boom on turn 7. Here comes the Snow Chugger with the Blast Mage synergy. We'll see if he's able to get the pings. He does. He clears off the Paladin Shredder. Curator comes out. Really good drop for N-Dashed. Means that the Snow Chugger is probably going to survive. Arusu, recognizing that he does not want to have his face locked out with freezes, is going to do the Inner Rage. So the Curator clear that off. N-Dash answers with his own Dr. Boom and goes face, putting Arusu down to 17 and trying to assert dominance here. He's got a pretty slow hand on the backside though. We'll see how this Boombot Roulette goes down. Starts with that trade. If he's going to execute it, he should execute it now to prevent Boombots from dealing extra damage to it and getting too much value there. So he does take the execute first. He's got a couple whirlwinds here, so he can clean that off very nicely. Looks like that's what he's going to do, hoping the Boombot is able to finish off the Blast Mage, but it is not. Dr. Boom does soak up a pretty decent hit, though. And now, N-Dash has the value trade there, but he's already down to 15. This Dr. Boom is definitely going to survive at least one more turn. N-Dash, seeing how much Arusu reacted to not being frozen out by the Snow Chugger, hoping the Water Elemental has a little bit of a pseudo-taunt on it. He can get a trade in there for the Dr. Boom. Basically heal himself for 7. If that's the trade Arusu takes. Arusu does have the Armor Smith though, so if he's going to trade, he should play the Armor Smith first, but it looks like he's not going to. Sends both minions to the face. Gonna force N-Dash to deal with that Dr. Boom, which is not especially difficult, but he wanted to cash in the damage on the face first. Annoyatron, a pretty good pickup. Can kind of slow down some of the damage. Looks like he's gonna... Ooh, he does not opt to clear the Armor Smith first, if that was the play he was going to make. So he's going to use the freeze effect here on his opponent's face. Seems to make sense. The Annoyatron does come out. Arusu's Armor Smith is going to be able to farm that for a couple armor here. Let's see what he wants to do. The Frothing, he's pretty much got to play because he doesn't have much health, but it's not going to get a whole lot of value. The trades are just too easy for N-dashed here. If you want to do it, bud, he's got so 3, 6, 9, 13, 14 damage on board, so not quite lethal. So I assume he'll kill the Armor Smith first, depending on how he wants to, which one he wants to use on it. Keep his opponent frozen, so that sequence makes complete sense. Very well sequenced by N-dash. And now Arusu with one card in hand, it's a Whirlwind. It doesn't kill anything. The top deck is a Battle Rage. He's going to be able to use that first, see if he can draw into something that can save him. I don't know what it is. Acolyte's not going to do it. And with that, N-dash has enough damage on board, so his mage is going to take game 5 here.
Well played.
Well played.
And N-dash will be the Elephino Open number 12 champion. So congratulations to N-dash. Show their names real quick. That was the matchup you just saw, Rusu versus N-dash. And now, so we'll congratulate N-dash on becoming the Elephino Open number 12 champion. We've seen him in several tournaments, so glad to see he's been slowly improving and getting better and finally able to win one of these things. So we'll thank him for competing again, as well as Arusu. Definitely a very, very nice performance from him, taking home second place, almost able to pull that one out again. He made it go the distance, but came up just a tad short in that last game to N-dash. So the Elephino Opens will, the search continues for a repeat victor. No player has ever won this tournament twice. So the search continues there. But that will do it for us. We're going to go ahead and thank Strivewire real quick. You can see their logo in the bottom right side of your screen. They're a website, strivewire.com. They do a lot of Hearthstone Open tournaments for the Americas region as well as the European region. So if you're interested in getting into the Hearthstone Open scene, potentially playing in this tournament, the next Elephino Open, number 13, will be next Sunday. The tournament starts at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. The stream portion will be right here again at the same time this was started, which is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you enjoyed watching this, feel free to drop me a follow underneath. And if you want to check out past Elephino Opens, those are on youtube.com. So definitely check out there. Do a quick search for Elephino Open, and you should find all the previous Elephino Opens, as well as this one I will be posting within the next couple of days, after I've eliminated some of the downtime in between the matches so you can watch it a little bit more smoothly. But that's enough sellout for us. That will do it for today. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it. So have a good rest of your day.